I've already got my two favourite Irish whiskies in front of me. So why would I go around looking for lots of other Irish whiskies to explore when there's just so much Scotch that we can barely keep up in Scotch malt whisky? Well, honestly, it's because the whisky scene generally is exploding, isn't it? And if it's good whisky at a good price, isn't it worthwhile knowing about it? That's the plan tonight. I'm going to put my two favourite Irish whiskies, the staples that I tend to keep here on the shelf now, and compare them to what's available elsewhere outside of Single Pot Still Irish. I'll see you in a second. Hello, whiskey folk. Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to another Thursday night. Welcome to the vPub. Welcome to the vPub specifically. Look, I've even got a green light on the go here over my shoulder on St. Patrick's night. Now, I know it's kind of pretty obvious and a wee bit silly that I would only look at Irish whiskey around about St. Patrick's, and that was never ever the plan. I did something last year with Barry Chandler, and that was great fun. We had a deep dive, probably just within a day or so of St. Patrick's. But this year, St. Patrick's has landed exactly on the night of the vPub. So for me to not dedicate tonight's vPub to Irish whiskey would be a bigger statement, wouldn't it? So I've decided to do exactly that thing. There's been at least one whiskey in the basket, in the online checkout basket, for a long time, and I've not bought it. It's pricey, and we'll talk about that a wee bit later tonight. But I bought it for this vPub. I decided to go for it. I want to get to know it better. I reached out to a friend, Phil, Causeway Coast Whiskey over Northern Ireland, and just have a bit of a chat about what other things are easily available, reasonably good value for money, and really quite engaging. What kind of things can challenge our Scotch journey, or wherever we enjoy American whiskies or whatever else it is? What kind of Irish whiskies can come in and really give us a bit of an engagement value proposition? So we had a bit of a discussion. I got a couple of recommendations from Phil, and a third recommendation that he gave me was one that was already on my radar because of the excitement I've had with a previous bottle. So I've got four glasses in front of me tonight, and I'm going to uncork 4 bottles, all Irish whiskies. None of them, as I said at the intro there, are single pot still Irish. There are 3 malts and a blend tonight. So I'm kind of moving out of the single pot still Irish. I feel like I've got a reasonable handle on that, and I already love the stuff. I love single pot still Irish. My favourite is probably Powers, John's Lane. It's higher ABV, 46%. It's got a lovely spice to it, but it's still got that lovely rich texture too. But the ones that I tend to reach for, because they don't require much thought at all, they're just very decadent, rich, and lovely whiskies, is usually one of the spots, a green spot. I even love the 40% standard green spot, honestly. It's pretty straightforward as a whiskey, but it's still lovely, and it's easy to relax with. My 2 favourites are the Montelena, the wine finish Montelena, and the wine finish Chateau Leoville Barton. It's the Chateau Leoville that I have here in the glass already, and I've been enjoying a wee sip of that as we warmed up tonight. And I've also poured a wee drop of a Redbreast. I've got the Redbreast 15. It's sitting over my shoulder here alongside the Redbreast 12. The 15 is much better presentation, but you have to pay for it. The standard 12 is a 40% a presentation. If you really want to understand the flavour density that you can get out of single pot still Irish, this is the animal that you want. This is a 12-year-old cask strength from Redbreast. It's nice and powerful. It's 57.6% ABV. It's nice and pricey too, if I'm honest. This is upwards of 75, 80 pounds, maybe close to 90, depending on where you can pick it up. So it is pricey. It's not for everyone, but the flavour here, this is a barnstormer of a whiskey. I've got some in the glass here, and we'll talk about it a wee bit later. I'm going to quickly uncork those 4 whiskies with you tonight. 2 of them I'll uncork on my own here. Then I'll bring in a guest. I'll bring in an Irishman. It's funny, there are not many Irishmen available to join as guests today, but we've managed to do okay. It's funny, isn't it? Especially if you're in the alcohol industry. If you're going to reach out to somebody to guest and talk about Irish whiskies, you really don't want it to be on St. Patrick's night, do you? But we've managed to get Jim, Whisky Novice, over from Northern Ireland, who is, honestly speaking, mostly a Scotch lover, but he's happy to come and celebrate St. Pat's with us and have a wee chat about what's happening over in the Emerald Isle. We've also got 2 quiz hosts to come in and party with us at the end. Shayla from the States, but she's residing in Mexico, as we know, and also Menno from Belgium. Why are they coming on? Well, we've got somebody new hosting the quiz tonight. We've got an Irishman bringing us an Irish-themed quiz at the end. So hopefully by the time we build up to the end of the show, everybody's going to be here and we're going to have a sense of a wee bit of a nice party to finish the night off. Although I am up early tomorrow, so I'm going to try and keep it neat tonight. And I know I promise that every week, and sometimes I don't achieve it. Most of the time I don't achieve it. But in the meantime, I have to jump in to the lounge and welcome some of you beautiful whiskey folk and dedicated barflies. I hope you're all doing very, very well. I'm going to look for the orange. If you're trying to get my attention, just type Aquavite. Good stuff. Welcome, everybody. I hope you're all doing very well. David Owen is here saying good evening, Roy, and happy St. Pat's to everybody. Good evening, David, and great to see you, my friend. I know that you tend to only hang about for the first hour or so and pick up the rest on the replay. Buddy, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Jimmy Legg is here as well. Fantastic. My friend from down south, Andrew Pears, is here too. Good to see you. Andrew, the Whiskey Scout. Robert Eustar, so good to see you, my friend. I hope your health is very, very good, and it's nice to see you in here. Menno, I've already mentioned, multi-mission from Belgium. Chris Brown, what a star. Chris Brown and his buddies getting together. They did a song on YouTube. I should share that link. Gregor McQuee, who you know, Time for a Dram. Gregor, Chris Brown, Barflies, of course, and a lot of their friends got together to sing a wee maudlin Scottish song by Dougie MacLean called Caledonia. And they managed to get themselves into the local papers today, and I managed to pick up the video. I'm going to share that underneath so that other folk can see them singing this song. I got a kick out of that today, Chris. Good to see you. And Molasses is here. Good to see you, Mike. Always a pleasure. Tom Elmer is here too. Good to see you, Tom. Frank Peathead is in. Falsgraf, Luna Aaron, fantastic. Bruno Martins, Watchman 999. Good to see you, Greg. Chris Barlow, Whiskey with Molly Ben, who is our quiz host tonight. I hope you welcome him a wee bit later, and I hope he's given us a half a chance of getting some of the Irish quiz questions right tonight. Okawami is here. Okawami, I think I may have welcomed you before, but I may not have. So if I haven't, welcome tonight. Good to see you. Chris Pollack, Jed Smith, Scotty S. Good to see you, Scotty. I hope you're keeping well, my friend. Hellswood, down in Milton Keynes. I hope you're sat next to Andy, and I hope you're doing great, the both of you. Don McCausland, good to see you, Don. Graham Fraser, Whiskey 101, Nick, fantastic. Arnie Tiger, superb Arnie, good to see you. Warner, my friend from the States. I hope you're doing well, Warner. The one glass man, Warner. Captain Bamis is in. Captain, I'm just going to keep calling you Bamis, but thank you for putting me right on the pronunciation. It's Bamis with an A as in flammable rather than flame, right? So Captain Bamis, good to see you, buddy. Andy C is here. Good to see you, Andy, as well. Blair Stevenson, Gary Carew, Gordon Fraser, good to see you, Gordon. Joe Van Name, wonderful to welcome you in, Joe. I hope you're doing very well. And Jared Pruitt. Aye, Roy, we have some of the same drams. Happy St. Paddy's from Texas. Jared, welcome, my friend. It's nice that we're sharing some whiskey together too. I hope you're doing well. Good to see you, Jared, and nice to welcome you in. Gav's Drams, Whiskey Shared Toby, Molasses, I already picked you up, Mike, didn't I? Jed Smith, I did as well. Malt Brother Ray saying, good evening, Roy. Enjoy the Redbreast Cask Strength, one of my favourite Irish whiskies. Honestly, it's such a barnstormer of a whiskey, as I said, that I think it must be most people's favourite. I just wish it was a wee bit more affordable. Ryan Sutherland is saying, hey, Roy, Guinness and Redbreast 15 on the go for me. Good for you, Ryan, and good to see you in as well, my friend. Doc McCallan, fine and rare, is in too. Listen, patrons, I'll catch up with a wee Patreon-only post a wee bit later. Sunday night, we're going to do a wee lock-in for patrons, and Doc is going to be here with me and in the vPub. And I've got something planned for Doc. I've got a wee blind challenge for him. So I'm looking forward to that. Doc, I hope your tour of Scotland is doing very well, buddy. And I look forward to hanging out with you on Sunday night. Doc's one of our admins, along with Hellswood, Sugar Kitty, and many, many more often in. I don't know if I've caught everybody tonight. Whiskey Central, Shayla. Yes, Shayla is joining us a wee bit later as well. And she's also looking after the chat. So if you're struggling to get my attention, those guys can help you out. Mark Slinger is in saying, Roy, I'm trying a gifted sample of Blue Spot tonight. I have a gifted sample of Blue Spot as well. And the only Blue Spot I've ever had is through gifted samples. But I'm savouring that because I remember having such a moment with that Blue Spot. And I know that it's young whiskey, but it was very, very good, very pure, very clean. I know that there's some, I think it's Madeira or some maturation in there. So I'm going to be looking for that this time that I try it. But I've got a wee sample from Phil. Over in Causeway Coast. Finn Hobelman, that looks like a new name. Hello, Grom. Hello from the Netherlands, sorry. Got to leave soon. Have to be up early for work. Tomorrow is visiting a whiskey festival. Well, that's a good reason to get up early, my friend Finn. Nice St. Patrick's Day for you all and the barflies. Finn, you're very welcome. Thanks for saying hello to us all. I hope you enjoy your festival tomorrow. And Robert is saying, I am well. And back to work, sir. Good to hear, Robert. Fantastic. Well, let's raise a glass to that. Welcome, everybody. This is the Chateau Leoville Barton green spot here. All our green spots are non-age statement. The standard green spot is a 40% presentation, but the Leoville Barton and the Montelena are both 46% ABV, and boy, do they bring that extra grip and experience. They really do. I would recommend, listen, if you can only afford the standard green spot, it's already getting on for £40. Not the cheapest non-age statement, honestly speaking. But if you can afford to go a wee bit more expensive, there's much more engagement to be had. And don't be put off by the wine finishes. The wine finishes here are really well integrated. In fact, it's one of the whiskies that taught me that wine finishing, when done well, can be really, really enjoyable. Brings a lot of nice sharp fruits, brings an extra layer of spice as well. It's just a fantastic whiskey. Sipping them back and forward to the standard green spot is also a nice wee experiment to do. I've just had a couple of drams, but I should catch those before I go on. Edward O'Meara. Oh, we need to say hi to Ed. I think they're having a wee bit of a watch party because they're all, one of their stars are on tonight. Shayla's on tonight, so they'll be having a wee fan party. I think that's what they're doing, waiting for Shayla to come on a wee bit later. So that's Ed O'Meara. If anybody knows Ed O'Meara, he's running incognito tonight, but the Rock Gut Review is Ed's channel. Him and Erica bring some fantastic and really humorous content as well. Ed, it's wonderful to have you in, buddy, and it's nice of you to buy me a dram. Malt, 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 malt. There will be malt tonight, Ed. Cheers. And also my buddy Jimmy Legg from Nova Scotia, super happy to hear that Doc's going to be in the lock-in. Can't wait. I can't wait either. He was here last week. We got a short amount of time to hang out together, and it was wonderful to see him, and he's been doing a whistle-stop tour of Scotland. He's trying to bag in excess of 40 distilleries in a wee bit over 2 weeks. It's incredible. Anyway, we'll hear more from Doc on Sunday night, Jimmy. I look forward to seeing you there, and thanks for the dram, my friend. Cheers. Well, that was very enjoyable, that wee green spot. It's a good way to start tonight. We've got 4 bottles to uncork tonight, so we need to get on with it. For me, Ireland is fascinating. And it mirrors, for me, a lot of what's happening in whiskey generally. We talk about the boom in the States. We talk about the boom in Scottish whiskey, not just the boom in distilleries opening up, but the boom in capacity and everything as well. Look at England. They've gone from literally nothing to having upwards of probably 30 distilleries now. It's incredible. Scotland as well is well in excess of more than 30 new distilleries. Wales is just starting out, only 2 or 3 so far. But Ireland, it's incredible. In the 19th century, they had less than 100, just close to 100 distilleries, just a little bit under 100 distilleries, somewhere in the region of 80 to 90, depending on the year that you pick. So it was a busy, busy place, especially for the population back then, somewhere in the order of 2 million or less. By the 80s, the whiskey lull, if you like, when whiskey was literally on its backside globally, not just Scotch and Irish, but bourbon, all whiskey styles, all brown spirits. It was down to 2 distilleries. 2 distilleries. At some points in time, there have only been 1 operating, depending on what's been going on with Bushmills in the north and Middleton in the south. 10 years ago, that had doubled to 4. In the last decade, we're now somewhere in the order of 36 distilleries. Now, of course, they're maybe not all releasing product, maybe, but I'm talking about being very, very close to in production or actually in production. We're not talking about tabled planning permission and things. We're actively talking about distilleries that are in a mature state of construction, or they're actually making their own spirit. So if you talk about a renaissance, that's a renaissance. So just consider these islands of the British Isles here. You know, we've got Great Britain, we've got all the islands around there, we've got Ireland off to the west. Just in that little collection of islands, we've got 100 new distilleries in the last 20 years. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. So how do we keep up? Well, and the action of one hopefully benefits the many, and that's what I'm going to try and do a wee bit tonight. I've bought 4 bottles. As I say, that they are available, they are affordable. If there's anything that takes your fancy from these are not things that you're going to have to go to auction or chase down or hunt. I hope you should be able to appear on your regular kind of spirit specialist or your favorite sites, your local independent or whatever, and catch at least 1 or 2 of these. I've put a wee bit of water into this cask strength, this Redbreast 12-year-old cask strength. It's an absolute fruit bomb. Some of the single pot style Irish whiskies don't really lead with fruit. They tend to lead with a kind of, I don't know, a doughy, bready character, and they can be very texture forward whiskies. They're really quite oily, and all the better for it. I love that about them. Often quite floral more than fruit, but this is a fruit bomb. This is citrus. This is spice. It's quietened and opened up a wee bit while I've been waiting. It's been sitting in the glass. But what a cracking whiskey it is. Even with the water, it's very dense. The flavour is crammed in here. You could spend all night just picking away at this, adding a wee drop more, just sipping it, adding a wee drop more of water. It's so full on. It's not got lots and lots of detail. It's a much more kind of rounded thing, but it's dense. There's a lot to unpack. There's that fruit and that spice and that kind of almost, I want to say breadiness, but I know that that's not quite right, but I'm certain it's almost like a fermentation thing. This is a 12-year-old product, so there is a lot of wood spice. There's a lot of sandalwood and things in here. There is quite a lot of oak being taken on board here too, but nothing is particularly out of balance. Everything is in check. The thing that impacts you when you sip a Redbreast cask strength is the density of flavour. That ABV brings everything. Everything's on display for you to take apart. Stephen Todd is in tonight as well. Good to see you, Stephen. He's saying, missed the last few vPubs. It's never a problem, Stephen. Don't worry about it. As we were able to get out of the country for some holidays in Mexico. Superb. I should have looked for Shayla. Hope you and the barflies are well. Looking forward to some Irish. Stephen, thank you very much for your drama, friend. And I hope you enjoyed your wee trip down to Mexico. I know it's been a long time coming for you. Cheers, Stephen. So we're asking a lot, I think, of the 4 whiskies I'm going to uncork tonight to give us an experience from Ireland that's anything close to, I think that's probably the pinnacle right now, and it's probably why it's so pricey. Redbreast cask strength is probably the enthusiast's go-to available full-on Irish whiskey. If I go back to when I started to drink whiskey, Jameson was always in the cupboard. Unfortunately, it wasn't often replaced. It was just always in the cupboard. My first few glasses of Jameson, I thought it was okay, and then I quickly stripped past it. There were so much other, much more flavourful things to get on board with that I just pushed Irish whiskey aside, and I never really got on board with it again, not for a long time. I have to give credit to Ian Buxton's book, 101 Whiskies to Try Before You Die. About a decade or so ago, I'm reading this book, and Greenspot was in that book, and it was also Greenspot appeared in the Legends book as well. Now that's interesting because the Legends book was full of unobtainium unicorn whiskies. So to have something that was at that time about £30 or less, that was interesting to me. So I bought it. I opened it, and it was compelling to me for 2 reasons. The first reason was that texture that I talk about. Even at 40% ABV, it was a lovely, thick, oily texture. So I worked out that was probably something to do with the style, that single pot style Irish style. that almost, by the way, died out completely. But the other thing that struck me was it's the first whiskey that my friend the Whiskey Rev and I completely disagreed on. I loved it, and he just couldn't get his head round it. To the point that if you offered him a green spot, he would probably say no and request something else. It's interesting. And I think it was a texture thing with him. And I think it was because it was perhaps maybe a wee bit of a simple whiskey, as I think he once described it. And I think that's fairly true, but it's still quite compelling. And not every whiskey has to be full on like this Redbreast. Sometimes we just want to relax and enjoy a dram, and that's what the non-age statement standard green spot does. So to be in a situation today, a decade later, and literally not know where to start because there's so much whiskey available, we have to kind of do that thing. We have to tease the sauce from the spaghetti a wee bit, don't we? We have to work out where we go. Because Ireland right now is slightly different from the majority of Scotch whisky distilleries that are starting up as new distilleries. There's a lot of sourced product. So there's a lot of whiskey available, but it's not necessarily made at that distillery. Now, there's nothing wrong with that as a model. Absolutely not. But I think it's important that there's transparency and that's declared as such. We are making our own whiskey. Here's something we've sourced that we think is delicious that you'll enjoy in the meantime. Get their brand out there, get the messaging out there, get some nice whiskies out there. Hopefully well presented and affordable, right? Has happened. You remember Rassie, the While We Wait series and things. It's not unique. It's not unique to Ireland to do that. It happens all across North America. But generally, what we see with the likes of Lochlee and Clydeside and lots of the new Scotch distilleries is they're very eager to get their whiskey out as soon as it's available. I wonder how clever a strategy that may be. I know a lot of people are enjoying their Lochleys and their Clydesides right now, but they're young whiskies. They've yet to show what they are. They've yet to bring their definition. I think sometimes there's an argument that maybe sourcing something, if you need revenue and you need brand awareness and things like that to start building up, it's a good model. But if we look at Ireland, we need to work out what is the whiskies that's made by the new distilleries and what's the sourced whiskies. Let's start with one. Now, I've just come off a Redbreast cask strength, so I'm asking a lot of this whiskey. But there was a time that it wasn't presented as well as it is just now. The one I'm just about to uncork is actually a blend. I'm not uncorking any single pot still Irish tonight because I feel like I've kind of got my head around most of those whiskies. This is the one of the Silkies. This is the Dark Silkie. So there's peated spirit in here as well. And we look at the words here down the bottom, non-chill filtered, 46% ABV. This is good presentation. It's a non-age statement whiskey, but honestly, most of the whiskies that we're buying from Ireland right now tend to be most of the affordable ones. But this is non-chill filtered, 46%. And the party piece here is this is less than £35. In fact, I paid £31 for this. So let's try a wee go. Perfect. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. It's kind of funny that St. Patrick's Day is kind of, imagine if you're Irish in the world, there's a kind of pressure on you for you to really celebrate St. Patrick's. I have a couple of sober Irishmen in the background tonight. It's quite interesting to see. Anyway, it talks about the Silkies of the Donegal coast are mythical shapeshifters who shed their sealskin coats to become irresistibly enchanting sea maidens with long dark hair, deep soulful eyes, and beautiful voices. Sounds alluring, doesn't it? It kind of reminds me of the Kelpies and these mythical stories that we have in Scotland too. There's a tremendous affinity between the Irish and the Scots, especially when it comes to these mythical stories that we like to put on whiskey bottles, right? So it talks about there are some tasting notes here and things like that. And it does say non-chill filtered for a richer character, enjoy neat and on the rocks, product of Ireland. Sleeve League Distillers, Carrick, County Donegal, Ireland. Now, we know this to be sourced. This is not made by Sleeve League are making their own product now. They're making their own whiskey. I don't think any of their own product has been released in any form yet. Whiskey, that is. So this is a sourced product. It's got a nice presentation. It's got a nice price point. And it's got quite a nice nose, honestly. A smoky blend made from double distilled and triple distilled peated single malts with soft grain whiskey to savour the latter, to savour the later watches of the night. There is a grain element to this, definitely, but it's not as forward as you might think. This is quite malty. It's fruity, light fruits, so a wee bit spirity. Some confectionery here, like chalky sweets, like refreshers, we would say in the UK. Refreshers, yep. Not a lot of smoke. I know that I tend not to pick up the smoke, but there's not a lot in here. The peat in here is quite in check. This is just part of the play. It's not it's not his first foot. Let's have a wee sip. Okay, this is what blended whiskey should be. There's grain here. There's a grain texture as well. There's a wee slight effervescence, almost like a grassy rye type thing. Great. There's confectionary's there too. Pink bubblegum. That chalky refreshers thing is there too. But this is sweet. There's a good texture to this. There's a long finish. This is a blended whiskey. This is a mix of malt and grain that's wonderfully sippable. That's hugely encouraging. That's hugely encouraging. £31 too. I think that honestly, one of the most neglected areas in Scotch whisky right now is blends. We talked about it very, very recently on the vPub, as recently as 2 weeks ago, you'll remember. I know the focus of that was on blended malts. But this shows you, I mean, I feel like this is really quite malt rich. I don't know what the makeup is, but that's certainly how it plays. Mark Goins is in U-Star. Good to see you, Mark. He's celebrating 25 months as an Aquavitae barfly. He's earned his pink barfly U-Star. It's wonderful to see you in here. He's saying, good evening, everybody, and cheers. Cheers to you, Mark. Thank you, buddy. Mark is the guy who supplied this wonderful, big, solid hardwood vPub compass plaque that hangs over my shoulder. Thank you, buddy. Ireland, this is a great start. This is a tasty whiskey. I've just come off a Redbreast 12-year-old cask strength. So it's asking a lot of a blend. You wouldn't put it in that order normally. A densely flavoured cask strength to a light and delicate £31 blend. And I think I would easily pour another glass of this. There's texture there. The 46% ABV is clearly helping this. It's kind of gone now. There was quite a long finish. Let's go for a medium finish here. It's kind of disappearing a wee bit now. It's just gone a bit kind of a wee bit of saccharin. It's quite moreish. I'm enjoying this whiskey. That's a surprise to me. I think we've found our value, honestly speaking. I thought that this one was going to be a kind of, yeah, it's okay for the money. But actually, it's pretty good. Falsgraf is saying, in my experience, Irish grain is better than Scottish grain. On the single grains as well as what you taste in blends. Cheap whiskies do not count here. That's interesting, Falsgraf, because I have no, well, let's say no, the only knowledge I have of Irish grain would be the Jamesons and things that I'm speaking about. The only single grain I've tried is Teeling, which was very, very good, by the way. But that's a different thing. So maybe if you're comparing Scotch to Irish single grains, you're talking about things that existed before the Teeling single grain. And I don't really have much knowledge there, so it's interesting for you to make that point. Jimmy Legg is saying bland blends will always get neglected. Aquavitae, good ones, not so much. I think that's true. I think that's absolutely true. And you don't need to charge £17 or £18. You can charge high 20s or £30 for a good blend. I think this is, if you like drinking whiskey neat or even throwing it over a wee ice cube, maybe that's your thing. I do it occasionally. I think this would be a cracking whiskey to do that with. Let's leave a wee bit of it in the glass. I'm going to tear through these quite quickly because we've got a lot to talk about in the Irish whiskey scape. And as you know, I do have some guests waiting in the background. Now, anybody that's seen the colour of this bottle will know what I'm about to open now. Listen, this does not look like a bottle of whiskey to me. I've got other ones. There's one over my shoulder as well here. I think that's the Gaia over there. This is Waterford. You might recognise it. It's quite distinctive. It doesn't look like a traditional bottle of whiskey, but I think that that's very, very deliberate. This has got a nice kind of red glass top. All the corks are kind of glass. I've tried this. I tried this last year. Mark Rainey did a little tour and I got invited along, courtesy of Arthur Motley. And it was really nice to kind of have this spread of Waterford whiskies and hear him giving a story. And he was asked very, very difficult, crunchy questions. You know, things that people were it's kind of a bizarre, this thing we have with Waterford, that we're kind of, I don't know why we look at them through such a suspicious kind of mindset. Something happened there for us to look at this distillery, and instead of celebrating it, pointing the finger and asking questions about it. But nevertheless, it's the dynamic, and I think it's a lot to do with the characters involved, no doubt, and it's a lot to do with what they are doing. Interestingly, one of the most outspoken people against Waterford and the methodology of terroir and all of these things is somebody who comes from the other end of the spectrum, somebody that's been in whiskey for a long, long time. And that's interesting there. Why wouldn't you just, they're doing it, they're spending their own money, they're doing their own thing. Why would you just let them do it and see what you can learn from it? I just don't understand this kind of, is it the alpha male thing? I don't know what's going on, but it exists with Waterford and it's part of the makeup. And I think it's a shame because the whiskey should come before that. People come first, of course, but whiskey comes before the thing, the distillery, the product, whatever it is. With the whiskey itself. And Waterford, you can criticise them for a lot of things, but they're trying to make the best whiskey that they can. They might have done that very thing. They might have made the best whiskey that they can. But they haven't made it. Oh, wow, this is unreal. This is not a cork. It's rubber or something, isn't it? Wow. They haven't made it very affordable. This is a premium whiskey tonight. This is by far the most expensive, I think, other than that cask strength that I started with. But of the ones that I'm uncorking, this is a premium. I have the same problem with the cork with the other one. I think you've got to just kind of give it a pop. I mean, at least it's secure, right? This is their Cuvee, and it came out last year, and it was nice to kind of taste all these single farm expressions and things and lead up to and then taste the Cuvee. And the concept at Waterford is, imagine the landscape of blending that's been happening for 150 years now in whiskey. They're trying to do that in their own house style. So they've got all of these different kind of layers of flavour that they've made up from all the different single farm distillates, all the different barley strains, and all the different flavour profiles that they have before it even goes into wood. They're trying to bring the best, most flavourful, most complex whiskey they can using those processes. One glassman, Warner, is saying, cheers, Roy, enjoying the vPub with a pint of Guinness, good for you, Warner, and a glass of 10-year-old Dunville's single malt. I noticed a peated one. I was tempted by that at Dunville's. An underestimated Irish malt bottling, in my opinion. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all. Let's raise a wee glass to you too, Warner. And thank you very much, buddy. I hope you're going to make a trip to Scotland again soon. Cheers, Warner. This is much more familiar to me. There's something about Waterford, and the only word, I need to find a different way to articulate it. But it's true of before they had mature spirit, it was there, and it's here now. And it's a cleanliness, it's a purity, it's like It's like, it's really difficult. Fresh linen, a clean breeze, lightly floral, white. It just makes me think white, but it's clean. This Waterford Cuvee, this is their first. I know that their first release, they had a first Cuvee when they first released, didn't they? I don't even remember now. There's quite a lot of product out there in these blue bottles from Waterford, but this is their first go at a core range. This is their first Cuvee, but it costs £70. And we know that the age of this, I mean, it's going to be the maximum age in this, I think, from my memories, 6 years. And it does nose a wee bit young. But let me tell you that there is nothing off-putting. This is 50% ABV, and I'm sticking my nose right in here. It's inviting. But it is clean. It's lightly floral. I'm in a baker's. Think dough, Danish pastry, that kind of thing. Dough is a good word. It's yeasty. It's like a fermentation thing. Custard. I'm trying to pinpoint the floral, but it's just clean. Cheers, Warner. Cheers, everyone. The ABV works well. It's not overpowering, but there's lots of grip. There's nice spice, white pepper on the finish. But before that, you get more of that cleanliness. You get more of that purity. There's a little citrus oil here, a little maybe like a lemon oil thing. A wee bit of salt. Wow. It's just very clean. I can't justify £70. This is good. This is very good whiskey. It's very. I mean, there's detail here. You could spend a lot of time with it. It's just very good, and it doesn't taste engineered. Don't. It doesn't feel like it's cooked. It's just very good whiskey. There's a lovely texture. It's still in my teeth now. But at £70, it's competing with a lot of really quite premium things, admittedly from Scotland and the like. I mean, I can buy Glencadam 15 and have change from £70. I can buy lots of other kind of really clean, pure Highland styles. But this is different. It's not that. I challenged Mark Rainey when I was in the tasting about the pricing of this product. And he held his hands up and he said that our whiskey is expensive. However, every year, our whiskey will become more and more mature and our prices will stay the same. So I guess what he's saying is that £70 is maybe going to be the benchmark. We have to remember it's a 50% ABV. There's a wee bit more whiskey in here than a standard 43, 46% bottle. We have to understand what they're actually trying to do here. And I think that Waterford are a bit of a target for lots of reasons. Some of it's been a wee bit clumsy, but just we need to judge the liquid. This is not 70 quid whiskey, but I don't think it's far short of that, bizarrely. Let's have a wee nose of that Redbreast cask strength. Completely different whiskey. This is double distilled. This is triple distilled. This is single pot still Irish. This is malt. Okay, suddenly there's a maturity to the Redbreast. That's understandable. So the floral thing is the thing that pops from the. This is darker and richer, of course, more fruity. And the Waterford is outdoor. It's bright and fresh. It's just a very it's difficult to define for me. I always say this, and it seems to make sense. This is probably, once this has got a good age on it, it's potentially going to be the best Scotch whiskey not made in Scotland. I'm glad to have this. 70 quid smarts a bit. Edward Amira, Ed's bought me another dram. Hey, the folks at the viewing party think you should drink some poach. And I don't have any poachine. I have none. And I'm grateful that I don't, Ed. I'm not going to get bullied into that either, especially when I'm driving the kids to school tomorrow. Great. Get real rock gut with it. But if you don't, just say malt, 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 hi Shay. Malt. Well, this is genuinely malt. So malt, malt, malt. Anthony Dunn from Ireland is saying 70 plus for Nass was steep. Some felt they were sold a story with terroir. Many better aged whiskies for £70 around the world. It's not that good a whiskey. And I'm not going to try and justify £70. What you need to do with this, Anthony, and what I'd be keen to do is slip it into a blind challenge. Genuinely put it up against other £70 whiskies, maybe even a wee bit less, and see how it stands up. This has got a long finish. I'm still tasting this whiskey now. We're not going to judge this as a 6-year-old whiskey. We're not going to judge this as Waterford. We're not going to judge this because it's in a blue bottle with some kind of, I don't even know what the labelling is about. There's probably a story behind it, but I didn't bother to check. I'm not even going to judge it for its 80s disco style labelling. I'm going to judge it for £70 worth of whiskey. And I think that's what we should all do. I think this would be an interesting one. There's no heat. There's no rawness. There's no kind of overtly new make. There's a maturity to this too. I'm glad I have it. I wish I'd paid 50 quid for it. 55. It's very good whiskey, in my opinion. Whiskey Central has bought me something in Mexican dollars. Fantastic. Every time you say that the Malt Boys have a drink of whiskey over at the watch party, okay, every time I say, well, I'm not going to deliberately say that word then. I'm going to genuinely say it as it just weaves into the conversation because I don't want a St. Paddy's Day mess over there at Ed O'Meara's watch party. I hope you're enjoying it, everyone, and I hope you're enjoying Ed's company. I look forward to hanging out with Ed and Erica again in the future. Terrific. Jaime is in tonight. Jaime, not Jamie, is saying, I doubt it'll stay at £70 when they slap a 10 or 12-year statement on it. For one, Angel's share is miles apart. Well, I think that it's difficult because there's a lot of other variable factors going to come in between now and it getting to 10 or 12 years old. Cost of materials, cost of raw malt, or raw grain, lots and lots of things, casks, everything. But they've made a pledge, they've said out loud, look, the spirit's going to get more expensive. And they've actually said there is costs in maturing whiskey, but relative to making the whiskey, it's small. So what we're trying to do is keep the price the same as the whiskey becomes even more compelling and even more mature. Now, we need to hold them to that. And when we judge the whiskey in the future, we need to obviously consider, their peers and everybody else out in the landscape there. But if the price has increased, we need to call them out on it. Steve A is in. Good to see you, Steve. I was looking for you a wee bit earlier. Too late. It's already a mess. That mess started before you're live anyway. Well, here's to the mess, boys. I hope you're enjoying yourselves. Malt. I bet you there's some girls in there as well. I'll just say guys. Malt, malt. There is some malt in here. Single pot still Irish. So fruity. Wow. That's the amazing thing to do, is to sip backwards and forwards in contrast like that. If you're struggling to uncover a whiskey, sometimes sipping it in contrast is the best way to bring it out. The fruit out of that Redbreast just popped. The California Rare, just today I bought an Adelphi Chininik 11-year-old first fill sherry at Ardnamurchan Distillery. 58.8% ABV for exactly £70. So there you go, an 11-year-old Chininik, one of my pet distilleries. First fill sherry, typical from Adelphi, of course. 58.8% ABV for £70. Nothing you can talk about there. Doc, I wish you'd told me. I might have got you to pick one of those up for me. I don't have £70. David Owen is saying, picked up late last year a Redbreast 12 cask strength for €65. Not a bad price. That's a great price, David. And Nick Gascoigne is saying, happy St. Paddy's. Dunville's Palo Cortado 18 in the Tua. He's got a Tua glass on the go as well. He's doing it all Irish tonight. Nick, wonderful to have you here. Thanks very much, and happy St. Pat's to you too. I didn't even know that Dunville's had a Palo Cortado. Palo Cortado is an interesting cask to me. Malty Mission has seen a few more M-bombs, and people in the States will need to have their stomachs pumped, Roy. The Water Life of Whiskey film, that must be Greg. Good to see you, my friend. I've never had such a young whiskey with such a long finish as you get with the Waterfords. Absolutely what I'm getting tonight, that long finish. And we talk about a young whiskey. There was a time that I was sipping Waterford before it was whiskey, if I'm honest, where it was all about the heat. Even at 50% ABV, the samples were coming in at 50%. It was very hot, it was very young, and you had to try and taste past that to imagine what the future is. That's not happening in this cuvee. That's not happening. If you've got experience with Waterford based on the single farms and you do feel them playing a wee bit hot, maybe that Gaia, which I really quite like, it's hotter than this. This is much more integrated. The maturity is starting to show a wee bit here. This is going to be a compelling product going forward, but I am not recommending it to anyone for £70, because £70 to me is a lot of money too. The whole yelly said malt again. Jimmy Leggett saying that Leoville Redbreast was a very hard bottle to finish. Did not enjoy it. That's interesting, Jimmy, because I did enjoy the Redbreast Leoville. I didn't own a bottle of it though, so maybe I just having some drams. Maybe I wouldn't be reaching for it a lot. I'm happy with the Redbreast that I have. I think that you have quite a specific flavour profile that really draws you in, and I can see how maybe that wouldn't gel with you too much. JG is saying, whiskey, cheers, happy St. Patrick's Day. Malt. Okay, let's get my guests in here. Let's get the party started a wee bit. I've got 2 more bottles to uncork with you tonight. I've still got the Blackpitts, which will be the last whiskey that I open tonight, which is a peated expression from Ireland, from Teeling in Dublin, and it's actually their spirit. It's not a sourced product. Actually, interestingly, 3 out of the 4 that I'm uncorking tonight is genuine produced spirit, primary spirit, if you like, rather than something that they've sourced. Because this is Dingle's Single Malt. Now, over my shoulder, I think I brought the Dingle out, did I? Oh, no, I didn't. Oh, no, I did. Here it is here. This Dingle I had a wonderful time with. It's probably the fastest disappearing bottle of Irish whiskey that I've owned in the last year. I found it really compelling, and I found it compelling because it was a wee bit funky. It was a wee bit odd. It was a wee bit more of that fermentation, that bread, that yeast, that dough, that kind of really overripe fruit and things that you tend to get from the fermentation side of things. It was very overt in that Dingle, maybe even a wee bit of lactic in there too. I loved it. Found it very flavorful and enjoyable. But this is different. This is their single malt. They've moved on from the batches now. They've now got a core expression. So I'm really keen. This one and the Waterford were the ones I had my eye on for a long time. The Waterford, there's the one that sat in the basket for so very, very long, and I never pulled the trigger on it because of the price point, honestly speaking. Hope I'm not missing any of these wee drams that are coming in. Steve A is celebrating his pink barfly, a member for 25 months. Wow, 2 years of membership now too. Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you, everybody. Anybody that joins the barflies, you join the barflies by clicking that join button underneath. And what it means is that the vPubs are never, ever monetized. There's no adverts that you need to sit through to watch a vPub, and that's important because I go on for a wee bit from time to time. So if you're going to cut it up and listen to it podcast style, it's nice for you to not to sit through ads. You also get access to little cool badges, like everybody's celebrating their pink barfly after 2 years. I don't set the time limit, by the way. That's YouTube that does that, but you get a pink barfly after 2 years. So thanks very much, Steve. But you also get access to lots of other whiskey themed and channel themed emoji to color up your chat, either in the live chat or in the comments underneath. By the way, if anybody wants to leave a comment, I do. I'm going to pick up again on my New Year's resolution, and I'm going to catch up on all the ones that I missed as well. That if you leave a comment afterwards, I will go and respond to you and reply to you. I spent yesterday and today catching up. Also, if you're enjoying hanging out with the other barflies and myself tonight, leave a wee like, leave a wee thumbs up. Do I get a like for every time I say malt? Malt. Malt. Terrific stuff. Let's get my guests in. Let's reach out to my buddy over in Northern Ireland, who I love hanging out with, and I've actually been able to hang out with them in real life. Let's reach over to the guy who humbly calls himself the whiskey novice, but he's nothing like it. Jim Ingram, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm very well, Roy. Sláinte.
Sláinte. Happy St. Pat's to you, my friend. Good to see you, buddy.
Cheers, buddy.
Oh, with the Ulster shirt on as well. Fantastic. Listen, before we get into the whole St. Pat's thing, I'm bursting to ask you this, Jim. I'm just bursting to ask you this. I was so chuffed I could have burst out crying when I saw you in the queue for the Glasgow Whisky Festival. It was just amazing to see you there standing in the flesh, right? After, I don't know how many years, buddy, we've been hanging out with each other online.
A
But
good two, at least.
Yeah, at least as long as the channel's been going right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Did you enjoy coming over?
I had an absolute ball, Roy. I'm still buzzing about it. How long ago was that? That's a month ago now, surely. And I was out with some of I was telling you in the green room that was out with some of the Irish guys at the weekend, out with some of the whiskey guys, and like, it's this, guys, you have to come over, please come over, and we'll do it again in November, because it was.
I don't know where we're going to fit everyone in November, Jim, honestly speaking, but I mean, I had guilt because I kept looking over shoulders. I kept seeing you there. You were about and things like that. And I felt like every time I saw you, I was coming over. I just couldn't believe that you were actually there, right? But I got also the sense from you that at every moment you were kind of laughing and joking, and felt like you were in good company. I didn't feel like I was having to look after you, right? Because I didn't do a very good job of looking after you.
Well, listen, I'd be totally honest with you. I was nervous going over for the simple fact of everything that had happened with the lockdowns and stuff. Isolation. And I know you were slightly nervous about that as well, with being around people and all again. And I hadn't traveled in a couple of years, and I hadn't traveled on my own for quite a few years, etc. But I was made so Willie, Craig Dollier, and Kevin, Chris,
Chris Brown.
Chris, what was it? But everybody just so welcoming. And then for people, whenever I actually got to the festival, I said this to you and I said it to all of them. I didn't go for the festival. I went to meet people. The festival was just a byproduct. And Ben, who we'll meet later, Ben couldn't have been better. So it was just, everybody was so welcoming, and loved it. Absolutely loved it, man.
I loved seeing you there too, buddy. I really did, and it was terrific. I'm glad that you had a good time, despite me not being a very good host. Anyway, let's get our St. Paddy's on. Let's get the Irish whiskey done. I've shared with you. Do you have any opinion on what I was talking about there with the Waterford thing? It's an odd dynamic with Waterford, isn't it?
I have a very strong opinion on Waterford, and actually, you said, now I don't have any ill will or ill feeling toward them at all. I've had a few Waterfords and enjoyed them. Weirdly, when you were describing that cuvee, there was a few words that you said, even down to Blue Bottle, where it got me just thinking Brookladdick. And there's a certain amount of what Mark Rainier brought with him is just still hanging around, and will, I don't think, ever leave. And I actually read a comment from Whiskey Shared, Toby earlier, who said Mark Rainier himself has pretty much stated it's not Irish whiskey, it's whiskey made in Ireland.
Yeah.
And that pretty much sums up Waterford to me. Because I've made it clear in the past about all the terroir thing that they do. Brilliant, beautiful, but what is the point of saying this was grown here, this was made here, etc., and then maturing them all in different casks to suck a lot of that out of it? I know it's all great spirit. You've tasted it. It is good stuff, but whenever you put that amount of effort into it and then mature them all individually different.
Yeah, I've heard that said exactly like that, Jim. And I'm not even going to take the position of devil's advocate tonight, because I do have certain opinions to challenge that a wee bit. However, what I will say is that Waterford now find themselves in a situation where, the Dramface website, right?
Yes.
We've created that, and we've did this thing where we're all going to step forward and write under aliases. We're all going to contribute our topics and things under aliases, because one of the things is part of human nature. If you read an article written by Roy, you would hear my voice. You would judge the words based on what you know about me and my opinions.
Oh, yeah.
That's what's happening at Waterford right now, right? There's a legacy that Mark Rainier comes with. And he's gone in there and he's saying things like that. And I think he's saying those things because he's not really a nationalist in any way. He doesn't really care. He doesn't see a lot of difference between Scotland, England, Ireland, Wales. I know that he doesn't because I hear the way he speaks. He stood up at the Glasgow Whisky Club and said that he enjoys being back in England again. Right? That was his first sentence. And so you lost the crowd immediately. And I kind of went, is anybody really? No, nobody was really offended by it. But they did kind of go, oh, but you detect from that I don't think he cares. He talks about going to the southeast of Ireland because that's where the best barley is. He was once told that by a Scottish distiller, by the way. That's where the best barley is. But there's a nice story there, and isn't it convenient that he found a brewery and a Guinness brewery from Diageo that he can convert into a distillery? So there's perhaps a wee bit of poetic license there. I don't know, but I think so much of Waterford's whiskey has been judged on that. Which is why you and I both love it, Jim. And tonight, over my shoulder there, we can see that we've got wee coloured samples up here from Jim Ingram over Northern Ireland, because I'm coming over to hang out with you on Monday night on the Whisky Novice channel, and we're going to do a blind tasting. We're both struck by blind tasting because it strips all that away, like the Alias does on the Dramface channel. So it strips that kind of that legacy and that prejudgment away. I challenge you, Jim, that I'm sure you've potentially not got a Waterford up there for me. I don't know. But I think I would pick it out. I think I could pick out a Waterford because of the notes that I've tried my hardest to articulate with you tonight.
As I said, I bear no ill will to Waterford at all. And I remember trying one of their very first releases, and it reminded me of, and I think this is my thing with Waterford so far, anything that I've tried takes me back to Scotland. It takes me back to Scotch whiskey. And one of the first ones that I took, I actually had it in a blind tasting, and I had it as an island Scotch all day long, as a young island Scotch. And I just feel that perhaps, and it's not all Mark Rainier's baby by any means. It's there's
a team,
there's a team there, but as I say, I think they are going to do well over time. I think there was just such a big build up to everything that they were doing that it's inevitable with all these big companies, no matter what they're producing, that if you give yourself such a big build up, then you're just going to have people trying to knock you down from day one and find fault with what you've brought. Yeah, and it's a shame.
Yeah, and I have an affliction in me that means that I tend to go for the underdog in life.
We all do.
And I think there's a huge irony in that, because you mentioned I don't think Waterford are a big company as such, but I get what you mean. It's not like a wee tiny grassroots craft thing. They've gone in there, big scale to start with. They've invested. They've gone. Mark Rainey has been able to kind of live out a real indulgent dream almost, right? It is different. And I almost feel like I am suddenly tonight being a wee bit, not just devil's advocate, but actually kind of asking people to think differently a wee bit. Because I think the whiskey always comes first, before the brand, before all the shenanigans that goes on around it. The liquid, I mean, that's what we're all in it for. And the only way I think we're going to get over that, Jim, is to do a wee bit of blind tasting. Yeah. So if there is a Waterford in your lineup, I hope I pick it out on Monday night, okay? And I'm not looking at your poker face, don't worry. Let's get on with a wee bit of uncorking, shall we? I think I'm going to go for this Dingle first. Any experiences on Dingle?
Well, I have the batch 6.
Terrific. Well, it's not the batch 6 I've got. I've actually got there. And I really did enjoy, but you can see, look at this, there's hardly any of this left. I've really enjoyed my time with this. This is their batch 4 small batch release. This is their triple distilled Irish whiskey. So what you've got there is double distilled malt, I think, by the foil wrapper on the top.
It is triple distilled, matured exclusively in port casks.
Ah, okay. So it's a different thing altogether. Okay.
This is the last of the batches.
So I've got bourbon, sherry, and port in here. Okay, so you had the last of the batches. This is batch number 4. So yours is 6. The last of the batches was batch 6, was it?
Yeah, that's the last one that they're going to make, I think.
How have you found it?
I love it. Absolutely love it. I was bought, and I think it's even better that I was bought it as a 50th birthday present by my sister, who, yet again, had no idea about whiskey, has no idea about whiskey, and I thought it was a prime example of if you ask people, they will tell you. And she went into a local off license, and they said, "Well, everybody's talking about the Dingle Batch 6." So
Yeah.
I was delighted because people, what it's like. People, family don't want to buy us whiskey
I don't think they
because
should either. Not
no,
unless they've got a wish list or they know what to buy, right?
yeah.
Because yeah.
So this was a prime example for me. It's like, well, what's the point in buying whiskey? They either have it or you not want it, or etc. And I didn't already have this. I hadn't even tried it. Everybody was talking about it, so I was delighted.
Well, I can tell you straight away, Graham Fraser, sorry, Jim, is just saying it was great to meet you in Glasgow. I wanted to mention that to you. It was great to meet you too, Graham, as well. Jimmy, like I said, I'm definitely not in it for the whiskey too. Sorry, he said, I'm definitely in it for the whiskey too, but the people don't suck either. Amen to that, Jimmy. Absolutely, I agree with that. Cheers, Jim. Let's have a wee go on this Dingle. It's got that yeasty thing on the nose straight away.
And yet again, great to know it's their own whiskey.
Well, it is Dingle whiskey, absolutely. There's a Graham Cool, ex-Glenmurray's over there now. I reached out to Graham recently. I think it would be quite interesting to get Graham on a vPub in the future. There's a lot of bread here. I got some bready notes, kind of more of a sweet pastry note in the Waterford. There's a thick bread here. I mean, honestly, if you knows this, Jim, can you imagine kind of, I don't know, lemon pastry walking into a baker's of some description?
Well, in fairness, obviously we're tasting different things, but this here
But this is in common with the other Dingle.
Right. The first thing that I got was just how rich it was. I was delighted with how rich it was and how different it was for an Irish single malt. It stepped away from Bushmills. It stepped away from Middleton, from what we knew. And I know they're not the only ones, but
this does not nose like a typical Irish whiskey. It's quite dense. There's a lot of kind of, there's even a funk here, Jim. There's a kind of funkiness to this. And it's not like the funk that you would consider Springbank. We're not in kind of machine shops or oily rags. I'm speaking, it's a fermentation thing. Scotty is saying lists for the wife are useless. I still ended up with Johnny Walker Red Label. Scotty, I'm sure you can still get through it, buddy. Pour it over some ice and enjoy. The fruit on this it's difficult. It's like super ripe fruit. So like ripe melon, ripe aromatic melon. It's not fresh fruit, right? It's ripe fruit.
There's a very definite, the port maturation in this batch 6 is very, very definite, very, very noticeable.
Well, interestingly, the one I'm enjoying is, or the one I'm nosing is matured in bourbon and sherry only. They've ditched hand cut from the edge. That's referring to the edge of Ireland, 46.3%. It does say non-chill filtered on there. It doesn't. I had a wee search around for natural color, but we can pretty much guarantee that we have natural color here, right?
Yeah.
It's very inviting. Let's raise a wee glass to Graham Fraser, Jimmy Legg, and to everyone else. Cheers.
Cheers, boys. Yeah.
This could not be further away from Waterford. That's incredible.
No, it's an absolute, to me, it's an absolute credit to them at Dingle there, what they're producing. And once again, I'm not taking away from Waterford. That doesn't mean I'll just take Waterford out of the equation here. As individual distilleries, that to me is a credit to Dingle.
The funk here, I can pinpoint this. The funk here now is an agricultural. It's a farmyard funk. It's a cereal. It's a grain funk thing. I think it does have a wee lick of the fermentation thing about it. There is some lactic notes in here, and I don't mean just like milk or cream or cheese, but there is a lactic thing right in the middle. Lots of spice. It's rich, Jim. You're spot on with the richness. There's lots of, let's say, bacon spices, because I'm not really sitting down and thinking it out. But yeah, the nutmeg, the cinnamon,
Yep.
allspice, maybe.
Yep.
Long finish. I mean, what age are we talking about here? This is a 6-year-old product, isn't it?
At best.
I mean, Dingle is what, 20? Oh no, they're coming up for 10 years old of production now. So there could be much more mature stuff in here. But I think I could pick this out because of just how overtly, is funky the right word even?
You see, once again, I have that utmost respect for them because they've taken the Scotch blueprint, held back, waited till their juice was ready.
Which says a lot, doesn't it? It says a lot.
It does say a lot because we're not then working off some blueprint that's based on. I had this debate with the guys at the weekend, and Hinch is our most recent distillery that we keep taking a look at, which doesn't get great. I hate to say it, but it doesn't get a good word from any of us really. But it's
not there yet. Yep.
That they're now, everything was sourced. So I asked the question of the rest of the guys, have you been speaking to them to see what the crack was regarding what happens going forward? Are they going to try to mature their whiskey and aim for this same flavor profile of the matured, of the source stuff that they had?
Yep.
And from what I'm being told, yes, they are.
Wow.
Now, if you had, so we know, because they've announced, they were quite open to say that their sourced whiskey is Great Northern Distillery in Dundalk, which I suppose the best way to describe Great Northern is what do you call the American one that produces for everybody?
MGP. Yep.
MGP. That's the one. That's basically what GND are. So they're producing.
Sorry. Just to interrupt you quickly. How do you pronounce the word that you spell MALT, Jim? How do you pronounce that word?
Malt.
Malt.
That's the one.
Are you sure it's malt? Is it definitely malt?
It's malt.
Sorry, I was very interested to hear you the MGP analysis there, and I know exactly what you were meaning. You were making a good point as well, and that happened with Cooley stock, didn't it? It happens still today with Middleton, Bushmills. All of these kind of, let's say, bigger distilleries are providing product now for so much of the, and that makes sense because we've gone from 2 distilleries in the 80s, 4 in 2012, and we've got plus over 30 a decade later. So in order for them to get product out, it's either going to be young or it's going to be sourced, right?
But the thing to remember is, and this is a prime this proves it, Irish whiskey's a hobby. That's all Irish whiskey is. You know, it doesn't affect, well, I can't imagine it affects our economy. Obviously, these people have invested money in it. It's not like Scotch whiskey, where the economy lives on it, it breathes on it. You know, it's a big thing. You know, without whiskey, the Scottish economy would notice that dip. Irish whiskey doesn't. It's a hobby to these people. Now, obviously, it's an investment. It's money in their pocket, but it won't affect me. It won't affect.
So I think what you're getting at there is that there may be 30 plus distilleries, but much like the 30 plus new distilleries in Scotland and England, the scale of them tend to be quite small. Although I did notice that some of the distilleries were actually quite sizable, Waterford included.
Yeah.
You know, there are some bigger ones in the mix there, but I get what you're coming at. I mean, you know, Irish distillers down there in Middleton or Pernod Ricard on down the bottom, they're huge, they're massive. But in Scotland, we have Grant's, you know, we have Diageo, we have Pernod Ricard, we have all these big powerhouses of whiskey production. And that kind of makes some sense. So while all these 30 plus distilleries are existing in Scotland as well, they're not really making the needle lift very much because you combine all of their capacities together, and they probably, you know, they barely make up one of the big malt producers like Glenlivet or Glenfiddich, right? So I get exactly what you're coming at there. So that's interesting in itself then, Jim. Do you think that there's an appetite for this explosion of all these different variations coming from Ireland right now?
Well, it's they've already. Well, the statement came out. I think it was only within the last couple of weeks. There was a statement put out that Irish whiskey will surpass Irish whiskey sales will surpass American or Scotch whiskey sales in America within the next year. But you and I know that that's Jameson that they're talking about. That is pretty much all they're talking about there. It's just Jameson's going to carry that forward. These new distilleries, these young distilleries will have their fans. I think they're going to have to work hard to win us over, because even to us, to the standard, to the basic standard, to the Irishman going out for a pint and a halfing, it's going to be Jameson's.
It's Jameson's.
Yep. You know, or Bushmills.
So people aren't looking there to really dive into the glass and tear apart things and enjoy the flavour. They're just looking for a whiskey flavour chaser, right? That's what they're doing. They're just, And I get it, and it's very much the same way that traditionally whiskey was consumed in Scotland for decades. Of course, it's absolutely the same. It's interesting what you talk about there, the predicted growth in America, and that makes sense to me. But for a decade or more now, Irish whiskey has been the fastest growing whiskey sector. It's going to be interesting to see how it continues to go. I have to be honest that if it's as flavoursome as this, I can see there being quite an appeal, because the difference in this Waterford to this Dingle is black and white.
Mm-hmm.
It is so. I mean, people would drink these two together and say, "Are these whiskey?" Mm-hmm. Even novices would say, "Are these the same drink?" It's incredibly different.
Yeah.
Jimmy Legg is asking how many pot stills at Middleton. Middleton have 10 pot stills, Jimmy, down in the South Island. 10 pot stills and I think half a dozen column stills as well. Most of the production comes out of those 6.
I find it very, very difficult to look aside Middleton. Middleton is my Irish, and I mean, I know people talk about being from the north. Everybody's like Bushmills is our distillery. But when they produce single pot stills, like even the classic Redbreast 12-year-old, you know, it's getting pricey. In my opinion, it's getting too pricey, but it is a classic. I was reading a lot of comments here. I would agree. The green spot, the standard green spot, is not really. I wouldn't buy it anymore. But then, whenever you go to the opposite, almost the opposite end of the scale, when you're looking for a good one, and the Powers John's Lane, which produced in the same place. You know, it's the capability that they have is just
absolutely. And I think you and I have long waxed lyrical about that John's Lane. It's an absolute belter of a single pot still Irish. It's the spice that it brings. It's the wood notes. It's a cracker. Graham Fraser is saying, is Cooley still providing sourced whiskey on demand since the change in ownership? Well, that's interesting, Graham. I don't actually know. There's probably a lot of legacy casks out there, regardless, right?
And I would think that as far as I know, Cooley's still producing for other people. Nobody's told me any different. So,
Whiskey with Molly Ben is saying, if you have listened closely tonight, Aquavita has given the answers to about 80% of the quiz. We're in with a chance, Jim. We're in with a chance.
That's the thing. Because Ben actually told me he was doing the quiz before you told me he was doing it. And I thought myself, well, I could ask him.
Terrific. Well, here's all my notes here, and I did my notes just to kind of catch up on all the distilleries, but I was only really interested in scale and shape and geography, where they were. Trying to catch up on some of the names that I wasn't familiar with. Before we went live tonight, you and I talked about it, Jim. I mean, Crawley, Glendree, Achill Island, Ballykeefe. These are all brand new names to me, right? And I ran out of time. I was still finding new distilleries.
I hadn't heard of them. Would you believe we actually sat down the other week, and anybody who wants to steal this idea, you're welcome to it. There still isn't a distillery on Rathlin Island. Now, there's an island just off the north of Ireland called Rathlin, and very few people live on it. There's one bar. And I said to the wife, right, here's what we'll do. We'll start a craft distillery in Rathlin. Nobody's done it. What will we call it? And her and her sister, we were having dinner together, and her and her sister both at the same, because there's Puffins live in Rathlin, and they seem to be the famous thing. Her and her sister, both at exactly the same time, said, Puffin whiskey. And I went, right, I'll take it one further. Puffing and blowing. We'll call it puffing and blowing whiskey, and we'll start a distillery in Rathline.
So there you are. If you're open to investment, if you've got some oligarch money kicking around that's been sequestered, and you want to push it towards a project in Northern Ireland, Jim's your man to speak to. Anthony Dunnison, I believe the restrictions to Scotch compared to Irish helps. Middleton are doing fantastic bottles with casks that Scotch could never use. Absolutely. Acacia wood, cherry wood.
This is the thing. It's that law, isn't it, that we can just use wood? And I actually have. It's not even that. And I mean, obviously this could be done in Scotland, but this is what I love about
Method and Madness, right?
Method of Madness. This is one. I've quite a few Method of Madness.
Again from Middleton, right?
It's a micro distillery within Middleton.
Yep.
And it's basically their trial and error. It's their, and it's research and development.
I even saw a Method and Madness gin.
Yeah. That's so. There's plenty, but this is rye and malt. So this is a rye and malt, and it's 60% rye, 40% malt. And my wife bought me this along with a bottle of Blue Spot for Christmas, and I will love her for. I loved her anyway, but I mean,
that's better than Scotty Secker's wife who buys them Red Label, right?
You're damn straight. And it just, I opened this 2 days ago, I think, for the first time, and it was blown away immediately because I hadn't had that crossover before of rye and malt in that sort of percentage.
Well, I'd be interested to try that, James. So if you're up for a wee sample swap, I would be curious.
I will certainly
I'm going to move back to where Middleton took the production from. Well, let's go back up to Dublin because this is actually a genuine Dublin whiskey, right? This is the Blackpitts from Teeling. And what do you have there? Which one?
That's a single cask.
Single cask.
Straight. Wow. This is a distillery pour.
Nice.
I wasn't actually down at the distillery, but you could buy this online whenever lockdown came in, and I bought a bottle. So,
well, I know you don't have the Blackpitts here, but this is the peated. Now Irish and peated, we don't really associate the two. We don't. It's not really synonymous. Connemara obviously has been peated for a long time. I know I mentioned a Dunville's peated earlier. There's one or two others, but this is Teeling's take on peated whiskey. It's bourbon and interestingly Sauterne cask, 46% ABV, non-chill filter, doesn't mention anything about colour, but again,
Eric Waite was a big fan of it.
Of this one?
Yeah.
I wonder how Eric's doing. I need to get in touch with Eric. I'm overdue.
Oh, he's on. He's on.
Is he in here tonight?
I've just noticed him in the chat.
Fantastic. Yes, here, buddy. I know I've got an email to you, but I didn't want to reach out with an email. I want you and I to have a wee chat over a video call. I hope you're up for that. We can catch up, buddy. I hope you're doing well, Eric. Good to see you in the pub tonight. Again, Jim, it's peated, but it's not as I know it. The peat is very quiet here. And I happen to know, I did my research on this, I happen to know that the peated malt is sourced from Scotland here. But I would not. Either the cask is a nice active cask, it's helped mellow it out, something has happened here. The peat is fairly quiet, it is smoky.
I'm just filling mine up with water because
this is honeyed, this. Again, there's an interesting bready note there. I'm getting the bread is all over the place tonight. Honey, warm honey. Some kind of citrus syrup, like somewhere between orange and lime, maybe grapefruit. Grapefruit, absolutely. It's quite tart, acidic. Custard again. I keep going into the bakers, right? I'm getting these custard and bread. So maybe vanilla, maybe that's what's taking me to custard. A wee bit floral, maybe. And it's quite resinous. Okay. Cheers, Jim. Is this triple distilled?
Pass. I'm not quite sure.
The finish is odd. From arrival, development, right up to the finish is Scotch. Scotch is just, it's got, maybe it's the peat that's making me think that. It's very Scotch, much more citrus, much fresh. And right on the end, it goes, that grapefruit bitterness comes right in. It's almost, it goes to like an olive oil type bitterness. Green olive. Let's go back again. Just when you think everything's been done with peated whiskey.
Well, even the guys here are saying, I'm reading the comments from Eric and between Eric and the guy, and they're saying it opens up further to get more smoky, the Blackpitts.
Teeling Blackpitts needs more time to open up. Yeah, first Sauterne cask is dominant. So Sauterne, I would be looking for a sweetness, a light, delicate sweetness. Sauterne for me, and I don't know if it's, I don't have synesthesia, is that how you pronounce it? But I do taste color. Or let's say I don't taste color, but I associate certain flavors with colors. So Sauterne tends to bring yellow for me. And I know the amount of people that just think that's whacked and crazy, but genuinely it does.
Like Homer Simpson.
Yeah. But I mean, it does, it tends to, you know, so when I talk about fruit, it tends to be a colored fruit. So, you know, and it's normally the fruit side of things that takes me towards the color. So there is a sweetness here, but I'm picking it up as a kind of a honey sweetness rather than a kind of typical. It is honeyed. It's runny honey. It is honey. And every time I go back into all the glasses tonight, it's maybe just me, but I think there's been a real sense of being in a baker's all night tonight, which is a nice place to be. Let me tell you. Maybe not in St. Pat's. Maybe we want to be somewhere a wee bit. I mean, it's nice to go to the bakers for sustenance first, let's say. And Falscraft is saying, yes, triple distilled. This is triple distilled. For me, I mean, it's just the weight. There's great body here. Peated whiskey, Scotch peated whiskey is often proffered young because we like the peat hit. Lots of people, mainland Europe as well, North America, they love that big blast of peat. So it tends to be offered young to obviously try and find the maximum balance of that peat hit, but still have other flavors to talk about. So it can often be a wee bit young.
Do we know what the percentage of, is that all peated malt in that, or?
I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure. I believe it to be all. It says peated single malt Irish whiskey. It doesn't tell us any details on the back. It talks about the Blackpitts area. Just behind the new Teeling Whiskey Distillery is the historic Blackpitts area of Dublin City. Steeped in manufacturing tradition and formerly home to an abundance of malting houses, it provides the inspiration for the Teeling Blackpitts peated single malt, truly unconventional Irish whiskey at its finest. So maybe there were malting houses back there. Maybe they might have used peat back in the day in the 19th century or whatever, but they've had to import the peat from Scotland for this one. But I understand it to be Scotch malt.
You see, this is part of what galls me about Irish about Irish whiskey. There was something you read earlier on, and I know Scotch whiskey's guilty of it as well, but I think Irish whiskey holds the ace on this one. Is the BS story on the back of the bottle. And I'm not going to swear. I know it's St. Patrick's Day. It's that we can tell a tale, and it's crap generally, and let's come on and we'll just fill something out. Come on and I'll tell this person about that.
It's interesting because I come from a marketing background, Jim, and because I love whiskey so much and I want the bullshit to be stripped away and things, I'm sensitized to. I can smell that language straight away. But we have to remember is that when we started out our whiskey journey, when we ever picked up that first glass of that first bottle, I think if we had geek language on the back, you would have to find a way to temper it to make it palatable to somebody who picks the bottle up. They don't want to read something that comes across as pretentious. So I think it's difficult for a lot of copywriters, marketers and things out there to pitch the balance right. However, you hit the nail straight on the head. Surely the easiest way to go is just to be brutally straightforward and honest. Yeah. It is this, done this way, and we end up with this. Because often, ironically, that's actually more interesting than the whimsical stuff and
Exactly.
the geeky stuff, right? Casey Pearson, that looks like a new name, is saying, like a reddish yellow. I totally get that. Fantastic, Casey. Thanks for your indulgence. Whiskey Central is saying, you totally have synesthesia, Roy. The amount of times you say yellow, blue, pink, white, haha. Whiskey Mystery is in. Good to see you, Phil. I hope that's Phil and Deepa that's in tonight. Highland Park in Long Row 18. Purple for me. Okay, so I'm not alone here. I don't feel like a crazy man. That's a good thing. Lechic Head hits me hardest with peat. The best feeling slap of all time, says Jimmy Legg. I get it. If you're in the mood for the peat, you need to find the peat. You're looking for a big peaty hit, that dry, that lovely, that maritime, that medicinal, whatever it is. Nick Gascoigne is saying the Bill Phil cast strength is a great peated Irish single malt and GND sourced. What's GND? Oh, the distillery you were talking about.
Great Northern Distillery.
Fantastic. I've not tried that one, but I've heard a couple of people talking about Bill Phil. Let's summarise these, Jim, before we get the other folk in for a wee party at the end here. I think, and I don't know if you would agree with me here, we're talking about these marketing stories on the label. We're talking about best intentions. We're talking about Waterford and what they've done there in the south of Ireland. We're talking about the sourced product. And yes, we're going to try and make a whiskey that matches this sourced product. I call bullshit on it all. Whiskey's taken care of itself, and we like to think that we're able to dial things into broad brush styles and things, and I think that that's probably happening, but there's an element of you're going to end up with an incidental thing that you probably didn't fully design. I think there are no two whiskies that taste alike tonight, and I wonder how many I would pick out as Irish in the traditional sense of what I've been used to as an Irish style. Now, the four whiskies that we've uncorked tonight, none of them are single pot still Irish. So you're looking for that kind of oily, really kind of thick, seductive texture that tends to come with single pot still Irish. It exists here, but they're all doing very, very different things. So, I mean, it's remarkable, that Waterford, that fresh, clean breeze of the Waterford, and then that really funky, fruity baker's shop of the Dingle. You couldn't get any further apart. And then geographically, that's exactly what's happening there. Literally, one's on the edge and the other one's on the, down at the south, really quite far away. This is fascinating to me. And I have to say that the Blackpitts was a good price. The Blackpitts was, well, it was £50, but I'm tasting this whiskey 10 or too expensive, but that's kind of what I'm saying about every whiskey I review these days, right? I'm glad to have this. I'm going to pour this for Scotch lovers, and I'm going to watch them enjoy it. Same goes for that Dark Silkie, one of the best blends. I'd go as far to say one of the best blends I've had in a hell of a long time.
That's a good
I don't know what the malt percentage is, but super, super interesting. The Waterford, a cleaner whiskey. It's difficult to imagine. It's going to be interesting to see how this thing matures. I hope that they stay true to their promise and they keep that price point as the whiskey catches up with the price point, because it's going to be a compelling thing. You and I both agree that it's very Scotch made in Ireland, but that's okay because Auchentoshan exists in Scotland for the exact same reasons, Jim. Triple distilled Central Belt whiskies were because of the Irish migration that we had in Scotland. That's why they exist. So it's okay for it to flip backwards and forwards now and again. There's nothing wrong, especially when Ireland has less restrictions, as was brought up in the lounge tonight. The Dingle, full-on, rich, densely flavoured, wonderful stuff. I think the Dingle could go toe-to-toe with the cast strength Redbreast if you're looking for a flavour punch. And then to finish on a peated whiskey that is peated in every way that you expect and then no way that you expect as well. I know I'm an evangelist and I tend to err on the side of positivity and optimism, but it's difficult to dig negativity out of any of these whiskies until you start to talk about price. It's unfortunately the world that we live in, my friend. But this is, if I had to pick a favourite tonight, I'm going to take one bottle and go home with it because I want to spend time with it. Be hard to choose between the Waterford and the Dingle. And that's amazing because they are so completely different.
Yeah.
So completely different. Will we bring in our pals, buddy? How's your single cask?
It's awful. I do not rate this. It's now that being said, I think I might have finally nailed it.
Why you don't like it?
No, well, I think I might have finally actually that you just pour. I literally had this much in the glass at the start, and I think I put this much water in it to bring it up to here. And I think that's what it's because it's balled at like 61 point something percent, and it's just the reason I bought it was I wanted to know what Teeling whiskey tasted like. I wanted to finally taste Teeling whiskey
without the sauterne, without the peat,
just stripped bare, and it was, and I reviewed it actually at the time, and it was awful, and I still think it's not good. I think if you have to wait that long on it and water it down that much to just it's not worth it.
I've got a couple of bottles myself, Jim, that it's just too young and too hot. It does come good with water, but it's too fiddly by that time, right? You've lost your patience with it, and it's just there's a lot to be said for it becoming a wee bit less kind of raw and a wee bit more enjoyable and palatable. Brian Schubert, that looks like a new name. Brian, he's bought us a wee dram, and he said, Roy, watching my second live vPub. Superb, Brian. Good to have you in again. Great work. Sipping a yellow spot tonight, given my heritage. Sounds like you're an Irishman. Listen, that 12-year-old red yellow spot for me was an easy recommender for years. But I used to buy it at 50 quid. When it first came out, it was a 50 quid bottle. For us to buy that in the UK now, Brian, it's 70 pounds. But I still love, if I was to meet you in the pot still, Brian, and I was to buy you a wee dram and put it in your hand, there's a very good chance it might be a yellow spot 12. So much loved it is. £70 is too expensive, but that's kind of been the theme tonight. Brian, thanks for your dram. Cheers. Let's bring in everyone. Let's get them in and see how they're all doing. Let's bring in our what I've actually done is for a wee bit of a party tonight, because there weren't a lot of Irish people available tonight. I don't know why that is, Jim. Where are all the Irish people tonight? I'm not sure. We've managed you. We've managed Ben, who's coming on to host us. I said, if we've got a new guy coming on to host the quiz at the end tonight and I'm taking part, I want to share the pain. Sorry, I want to share the party atmosphere. So I reached out to Menno. I said, are you busy, St. Pat's? I reached out to Shayla, who's both of them have hosted quizzes in the past. Menno's become famous for it. Shayla in the last year or so picked it up, and I thought, I am going to share the pain with my other quiz hosts. So Shayla, good to see you in. Menno is waving. Bring it on. Bring it on. Fantastic. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you. Shayla, you've been enjoying your St. Patrick's, haven't you?
Oh, yes. I had a little pregame with Ed, so I'm doing good.
So you've been hanging out with the Rock Gut Review folks before you come on tonight. Good.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you've got your head on straight, because you're not hosting the quiz tonight. You're participating alongside us.
Oh dear.
Menno, I like the t-shirt, the Whiskey Geek t-shirt as well. Are you going to channel some of Ben for the quiz tonight?
Oh, I suppose I should, yeah.
Well, if it was a tasting quiz, you would kill it, right? But
yep,
maybe if it's a knowledge quiz, especially Irish. Did you go and pour yourself something while you were waiting, Menno? Oh, Busker. So you went with an Irish as well on theme. Now, Busker's not one I've tried. How are you getting on with it?
Well, it's an easy sipping. It's a supermarket whiskey. It's owned by the Di Saronno company, who do the liquor
it's a sourced whiskey as well, isn't
it? Yeah. No. This is raw stuff, actually, I think now.
Is it?
They used to sort, when the Walshes were involved, they used to source at Middleton, but now it's fully a Royal Oak Distillery product, I think. So it's young, but I think they distilled it themselves. Yeah.
And I think Royal Oak is one of the big. Well, I'm actually not going to say any more, because Ben might be in the background. Maybe he's got some Royal Oak questions. You never know. And if I start going on about scale and size and capacity and things, I'll ruin it. Listen. We're going to have a wee game of Is It a Speyside before we get Ben in. Who is playing Is It a Speyside? Okay, Menno, fantastic. It's been a long time, buddy. Is it a Speyside? One of us is going to have 10 questions to guess a hidden distillery, and all you're playing for is one of these. I need to hide my face in order for it to focus. One of these sniper coins. It's just a wee token. It's just a bit of fun, but it's not just Menno that's playing for it tonight. You can play along, and if you guess what it is, you're going to get yourself. I'll send you one of these wee glass toppers. Sits on the top of your Glencairn or your Capita, whatever it is you use. That's a great way to keep the aromas in. It's just a bit of fun. You can't buy it. Menno, are you the target tonight? Or
I am.
you the sniper? You are the target. Okay.
I am.
So I'm guessing you. So I have 10 questions. I did look at this wee illustration I actually had. Have a look at this. Now, this is an old picture. It's a bit out of date, and there's a few more dots to add to that since. And a lot more of them have turned from black to blue. Quite an incredible renaissance. I found that on whiskies.ie. I couldn't find a more up-to-date one, but it's fascinating to see. Anyway, we've got the countdown here. This is our 10 questions for me to try and guess what core range single malt Scotch whiskey is. At a Speyside is obviously all about Scotch, and I've got to try and guess it in 10 questions. Do you think I can get through this in time for us to start the quiz on time? Let's see. Menno, you have a single malt Scotch whiskey off screen.
I have.
Yes, and it's definitely core range.
Indeed.
In that case, Menno, is it a Speyside?
Yes.
Oh. Is it one of the big four? Is it owned by Grants, Pernod Ricard, Edrington, or Diageo?
No.
Ooh. Does it have an age statement?
Yes.
Is it 46% ABV or higher?
Yes.
Is it a Glen?
No.
Oh. Now I'm in trouble. I had you for a Glenfarclas 15 there. Okay, it's not a Glen. It's an age stated 46% or higher. It's not one of the big four. Is it a Ben?
No.
Oh, it would have been nice if it was a Ben because we've got Ben on tonight, right?
It was last time.
Okay, it's not a Ben, it's not a Glen. Is it 15 years or older?
Yes.
Wow. Speyside. I'm glancing over to my Speyside shelves. All I can see is Glenfarclas. It's not a Glen. All I can see is Glenlivet. Oh dear. It's not a Ben or a Glen.
And is it not a Speyside either? Sorry, I was just wondering.
No, it is a Speyside.
It is.
Or, I mean, is it a Spey, though? Sorry, I didn't know if that was asked already.
Oh,
it hasn't been?
No, I haven't asked anything.
Oh, okay.
What do you mean, the Spey in the name?
Yeah.
Oh. Are you helping me, Shayla?
I'm sorry. I can't help it.
You can't help yourself, can you?
Is
Sorry.
Spey in the name?
Yes.
Is it owned by Inverhouse?
Yes.
Right, I've got a choice of two here. It's either Speyburn 15 or Speyburn 18, and I've got two questions to go with it. Let's say, is it Speyburn 18?
Well done, Shayla.
I cannot claim.
No. I'm sorry. I was like, okay, Tamdu, or maybe it was a Spey, but I can't remember if you already
she's
asked
just
that.
fiddling on her cell phone and then one, like a tidal wave.
I think Shayla has perhaps got. Well, we know that you're an absolute student, Shayla. We know that you know this gig inside out.
I
That was
haven't
brilliant.
studied
That
in a
was
while,
inspired.
though, so.
And see if I just stretched my arm out, I've actually got a Speyburn. Have you tried the 15, Menno?
Once, really like it, but this 18 is quite phenomenal as well.
Yeah, the 18 is phenomenal. If sherry's your thing, there's a bit of sherry in the 15 too, but the 15 is a completely different thing. I think it's my favourite. Eric, wait, Whiskey Studies is screaming, Shayla. There's lots of Speyburns getting answered in there as well. Shayla led. You were just trying to help me out there. You were.
I'm
throwing
sorry.
me a
I'm
bone,
so
weren't you,
sorry.
Shayla?
I just stole your thunder, Roy. I didn't mean to.
Not at all. Board Dynamics guest Speyburn 15. It looks like a new name. Board Dynamics. So did Marty Wong, Fernando, but Taylor Ashley, Graham Fraser, the One Glassman Warner, Stewie Baby, Richard Hall, all guessed Speyburn 18. I don't know who was the earliest though, but well done everybody. Whoever got it first, I'll be happy to send you. I'm a bit behind, but somebody's going to help me out with my admin of keeping up with these sniper coins so that everybody gets them. Shayla is still bidding for her own. She's got 5 now, but she feels that she won one of them. One's waiting for you, right?
Yeah, at my mom's.
But you feel like you don't deserve it, so you want to come on and absolutely you could have won it tonight, you see, if you'd have played
I know,
tonight.
but I haven't studied in a while, and I like to be the one to ask the questions, and I was like, I am not prepared for that.
Well, you'd have kicked it out the park tonight. You'd have said Speyburn 18, and you'd have won yourself a legitimate coin.
It's all
right. Let's get Jim's back in. It looks like he's been away for his comfort break. He's back in with us. But let's bring in the guy who's prepped for the occasion. He's dressed for the occasion. And he's kept himself sober for the occasion as well. We'll bring in another Irishman and whiskey with Molly, Ben. Ben, good to see you, buddy. How are you keeping?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to you too, my friend. Good
Cheers,
to welcome you on. I know that you've been on the vPub before. I know that you've been, I think you've played a game of us at Speyside, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got my sniper coin.
You won it. Fair play to you. And you've been here with me at the end of last year for the fundraiser that we did for the Kidney Kids Scotland thing. You were one of the guys that came along. So we've got to hang out with each other a couple of times because I enjoyed your company at the festival too. But tonight, you volunteered to do what?
Yeah, so I volunteered to run the quiz. I've had enough of the pain that Menno and Shayla have put us through. So I just decided that I would extract myself from that. And actually, I don't know, when you put a quiz together, it's really difficult to know, is it hard or is it easy or is it?
Yep.
So we'll just have to see.
We'll just go with it. Listen, you're choosing St. Patrick's night to dish out some cold plates of revenge. That's what it sounds like to me. How do you normally score on the quiz yourself, Ben?
I normally do okay, but there's some guesses definitely in there. I've had a few disasters. I think the last Shayla quiz I was like 3 out of 10, but I've had a couple of 10 out of 10s recently. So yeah.
Well, don't bring the disasters for us, please, tonight. Please. I'm going to fold up my piece of paper and I'm going to write A, B, and C so that we can all do the same thing and pull up our... Menno's already got his going. Superb, buddy. I'll do that now. There's my rather fat A, and then I've got B. So just do your screen share, Ben.
Sure.
And we'll get this up and running. I'm probably not going to make my 2-hour mark, but I won't be far past it. And it means that I'll be feeling fresh with the right amount of sleep in order to do the school run and everything tomorrow morning. Neil Averty is saying, is that what Ben looks like? Aye, it is, Neil. Well done to you. Is Ben sitting on the throne? Oh, no. Maybe he's in his Jimmy Lynn. Are you in the toilet? Your best internet connection is in the Causeway, Ben, is it? Sugar Kitty's saying, I have Scottish S as the first to guess. Oh, superb. Scotty Secker got the Speyburn 15. Terrific stuff. Taylor actually saying, I would love to say I was first. Alas, there were several ahead of me. And Scotty is saying it looks like I won. Scotty S. Helen is confirming that that's the case. And Shayla is saying, is my phone a friend if I ever play? Is it a Speyside? That's Eric Waite.
Yes, we can tag team.
And Jimmy Legg is saying, you tried to get me with a Speyburn once, I believe. Terrific stuff. Congratulations, Scotty. Shayla is widely known as the quiz devil. I have no doubt that she will kill it again tonight. And we have to remember that Shayla is not only focusing on Scotch or Irish or anything. She's into American whiskey, world whiskey. You're whiskey promiscuous, aren't you, Shayla?
Yes.
But you have
mostly
an advantage.
Scotch, but
You have an advantage. You have the plasticity of a young brain that is capable of recalling facts, right?
it's just so easy, obviously.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna get like 0 out of 10 tonight. So
Listen, good luck. We've got Ben's share screen up, so let's pull this up. We all take part. Everybody in the lounge takes part. It's multiple choice. You're only playing against yourself, keeping your own score. Of course, it's only us that need to bother with the ABCs on pieces of paper type thing. But I am really quite nervous about this because it may have come across tonight that my comfort zone is not Irish whiskey, but I very much enjoyed it. Ben, Good luck, my friend, and thanks for stepping up. Here we go.
Good luck, boys.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
As I said in the comments, Roy, if you've listened tonight, you've actually given away a lot of the answers. So
well,
this
that
is
makes
a
me
test
feel
of
very
how
good.
well
Let's see.
people have listened.
Let's see if I remember them.
Okay, so question 1. Which Irish distillery with 3 pot stills and a combined vodka gin still has been overseen by a Scotsman since October 2019?
Oh, good one to start. Good one to start with.
Is it Kilbeggan Distillery, Clonakilty Distillery, or Dingle Distillery?
Clonakilty, is that the pronunciation?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know it might not be, Roy? That's another thing.
No, I would say it's Clonakilty.
I would say that, but I could be proved wrong.
Good. We've got 2 Irishmen in St. Clonakilty. That's good enough for me. Chris Ben has just poured a single Cask Macallan, and I make no apologies for it. It's tremendous. Chris, you never need to apologise for anything that you're enjoying and drinking, buddy. There's nothing wrong with Macallan's liquid. It's everything else that goes around it, not least of which is price. Take it away, Ben. I'm ready when you are.
Okay, yeah, the vPub's knocked it out of the park. It is, of course, Graham Cool, who moved from... Oh, sorry, I didn't ask for your answers. Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. You're a noob. You're okay. It's okay
Sorry.
for you to make this.
I forgot you guys, yeah.
Don't mind us. Don't mind us.
Anyway, so
Proceed.
I'm mistake then. It was, of course, Graham Cool, who moved from Glenmurray to Dingle in October 2019.
Terrific.
Okay.
I enjoyed his whiskey.
Note to self, ask you guys for your answers. Okay, I've put a banana skin in here, but it's kind of half a banana skin. The Old Bushmills Distillery in County Antrim has operated continuously since 1608, 1784, or 1885.
Great question, Ben.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I know
Thanks,
they say
Ben.
1608 in big bold letters, but I know for a fact that it's not
Yeah.
operational
Wow.
since
Hey,
1608.
Menno, you're doing a Shayla here, right?
No, I'm thinking out loud.
Yeah.
So it's B or C.
Think out loud in Belgian, and then you only help after in Flemish, sorry, or Belgian. My goodness,
Belgian.
Sorry. You know,
In my
Belgian.
research, I feel like one of them is popping out, but I did that video so long ago that I can't remember. But
Well, it is a
dear.
banana skin. I am guessing, but I feel confident. Take it away, Ben, when you're ready.
Okay, you guys want to show me your answers, Roy?
C.
Okay, Menno?
I'm going with C as well.
damn it.
Yeah, I'm going
Jim?
with C. C.
Shayla? B.
I was going with B, and I'm an idiot. So
Okay, the license was granted to the local landowner to distill whiskey in 1608, and that's why it's printed on the bottle. 1784, the distillery was built, but there was a fire that took hold in 1885, and the distillery needed rebuilt. So the answer is 1885.
Okay.
Good.
Already happy.
Question 3. We talked about this tonight, sort of, but in 2002, Irish whiskey sales in the US generated a revenue of $64 million. In 2021, that revenue had increased to what?
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Was it $498 million,
damn.
$764 million, or $1.3 billion?
Hey, it's a bit early in the quiz for the asshats, no?
It's take no prisoners tonight.
Yeah. Oh, these are good
Oh.
questions, though.
Okay, I'm going to base this on... Okay, I'm ready. I am ready.
Is everyone ready?
Yeah.
Where is Ben's
Yeah,
Molly?
yeah.
You've been asked where is Molly tonight, Ben? Not in the
Molly,
toilet.
it's way too late for Molly. Molly is sleeping.
Molly is
Just
asleep.
Shayla,
Molly's a
give me your
black
answer.
Labrador.
I don't know. I feel like it's a crazy number, right?
C.
C.
1.3
Okay,
billion.
Jim,
B.
Menno,
B.
and Roy. You are
C.
C. Okay. So Irish whiskey was the third fastest growing drinks category in the US last year, behind premixed cocktails and tequila mezcal. Is expected to overtake Scotch whiskey sales in the US, and actually the answer is amazingly $1.3
Wow.
billion.
Dodged an ass hat.
Roy still got a chance for 10 out of 10.
I based that on, if we can do 4 billion in Scotch sales and export, and I know that America, especially for malt, remains our biggest category, and obviously France too. So that's just anyway, that was my reckoning. It was a guess, and I'm very grateful to have it.
So
we
talked about Irish people being able to spin a yarn earlier. So Irish whiskey is spelled with an E because in the 19th century, Irish distillers wanted to differentiate their product from what they considered to be inferior Scottish blends. The E is included as a direct translation from the Irish Ishkabaha, meaning water of life. Or is it because John Jameson introduced this spelling in 1780 on the completion of his Bow Street distillery as a way of reminding people that his name and product was not spelt the more familiar Jameson with an I?
Ben, what the...
These are great questions.
Yeah, I feel like I know this, but
I think I do.
Yeah.
the way you put these possible answers together,
Yeah.
it really is a taste of my own medicine.
It's tricky, Menno, isn't it?
I used to like you, Ben.
Yeah. Right, I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm just...
Okay, Menno, let's go with you first. Let's see your answers.
A. I'm going with A.
A. Jim?
I'm actually going with C because...
You're going with C. Shayla?
A.
Roy?
A.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
I was quite impressed with C, considering I completely made that up out of my
Oh,
mind.
man.
But the answer is
definitely.
A.
Yeah, no, that's a hit, man.
Come on.
I've never seen
3 for 4.
Jameson, or in Scotland would sometimes say Jimison, spelled in that way. So I think that's what gave you away there.
I actually misread that completely.
Excuses, Jim. Okay, so 5 is our picture round at distillery. I've photoshopped this and taken the name off the front of the distillery, but which Irish distillery is this? Is it Tullamore Dew, Powerscourt, or is it Waterford?
If this was a Scotch distillery, I would know, but I have no idea. Why is serenading us
I
now?
felt like I knew this before the answers came up. So if I get this wrong, I'm going to be destroyed.
Okay, everyone got an answer?
Only based on Roy's comments.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go Roy last then. So, Jim, what have you got?
I'm going for Waterford.
Waterford. Menno?
I don't know. I'm guessing Tullamore Dew because they've been recently rebuilt. So why not A?
Okay. Shayla?
I was going C too. I don't know.
Waterford. Roy, what did you go for?
Oh, no, he thought it was
Tullamore Dew.
A. Tullamore Dew. It is home to the second biggest selling Irish whiskey in the world, and it is, of course, Tullamore Dew.
Baby.
Lord.
Shouldn't have second guessed myself. Damn it.
Waterford is very steel, very modern, very shiny and metallic. Chris Brown is saying, fantastic vPub, Roy. I'm a Scotch guy, and this has totally enlightened me to Irish whiskey. Chris, it's always a pleasure to have you in, buddy. Thanks for buying us a wee dram too. It was a pleasure to see you at the festival.
Totally enlightened me, the Irish whiskey.
Okay, so question 6. If you've been looking on the Dramface website, you might have an inside knowledge to this.
Oh dear.
Named after the town of its origin, which Irish whiskey is translated from the Gaelic meaning leap of the dog. Is it Boan, Limavady, or Glendalough?
Oh, God.
Finally, I know one.
Yeah.
I'm mopping the sweat from my brow now because I was panicking when I read the question. But thank you, Ben.
Indeed. Thanks for that little drum face. Mentioning that sure helps.
The wee drum face logo, yeah.
It's tested those dram face readers now, hasn't it? Shayla.
Fernando is miserable. 2 out of 5. Fernando, don't worry, you've got a chance, buddy. There's still lots of questions to come. Stick with it. Rob Halford is flooding the chat with dram face logos. Take it away, Ben.
Okay, Roy, what's your answer?
Limavady.
Limavady. Menno?
Yeah, Limavady.
Jim?
Yeah, it's Limavady.
Shayla?
Oh, yep, same.
Yep, absolutely. All correct.
Pass mark.
Liam Navadi is the Gaelic. I couldn't put that in the question because it probably gave it away. But yeah,
Can I say, Ben, as well, props for following the format. Well done. Question 5 is a picture. Question 6 is a dram face. Terrific stuff. A banana skin in the first 5. Superb
I've spent
stuff.
too many Thursdays on here, Roy.
I'm happy on the outward 5. Let's see how we do in the home 5.
Yeah, these maybe get a little tougher.
Oh God.
Come on,
I only have 4 right now. Dang it.
You were
We
doing
have
so
only got
well,
3.
Ben. You were doing so well.
We have talked about these tonight. So question 7 is in June 2015, which distillery opened in Dublin, making it the first new distillery to be opened in Dublin in 125 years. Was it Rowan Co? Was it Teeling? Or was it Pierce Lyons?
Falsgraf is saying learning Irish kind of paid off. Wow. So you know Irish Gaelic, Falsgraf. That would have helped you in the Limavady one, no doubt. Terrific stuff. I'm confident on this one too, Ben.
Yeah.
I think you're saving us for the ass hats at the end, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's just do a reveal all at once on your
3,
answers.
2, 1.
I've made an ass of myself again. I could have swore Pierce Lyons was the first out.
Nope.
So Rowan Co was Diageo announcing themselves back in the Irish whiskey industry, and they opened in 2019. Pierce Lyons moved his distillery from Carlow to the Old St James's Church, Dublin in 2017. But Jack and Stephen Teeling opened in Newmarket, Dublin in 2015.
I will say that Pierce Lyons was one of the first to have their own spirit on the market.
Well, that was because of the Carlow facility, though, right?
Yeah, that's what threw me. You see, it was.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Damn it.
Okay.
Anthony Dunn from Ireland. He's saying a wee dram for you, Roy. Hope it helps sleep for that school run tomorrow. I hope Ben gets his train to Hogwarts judging on that tiled wall. Terrific, Anthony. Thanks for your dram, buddy. Cheers. I hope you're doing well in the quiz.
Okay, I have a pass mark, so I feel good.
Yep. 6 for
7. Celebrate it. Malt.
Okay, quick.
Malt. Okay.
Question 8. This is a banana skin. Released in 1992, Lock Single Malt. Lock Single Malt. Lock Single Malt was the first single malt released from which distillery?
Yeah.
Feeling good.
Feeling good.
That's one too.
Was it Kilbeggan? Was it Teeling? Or was it Cooley?
I know this, but I can't remember. I've read this and researched it, but
Can I leave?
I think an interesting spin on this would have been what was the name of. No, I can't. I shouldn't give it away.
You understand why it's a banana skin, then, right?
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes. Sorry.
I think I know.
Okay, we good for answers?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Roy?
I think Cooley. C for Cooley.
Yep.
Menno?
C for Cooley.
Jim?
I guess. C for Cooley.
Shayla? C.
Yeah.
Cooley. Okay. Yeah, this is a banana skin because Kilbeggan is one of the oldest producing whiskey distilleries in the world, or it is the oldest producing whiskey distillery in the world, and was owned at one time by a guy called John Locke. And it was a Kilbeggan product, which was Locke's blended whiskey. But Cooley, of course, acquired the assets of Kilbeggan in 1987, and John Teeling put out his first single malt in 1992 called Locke's Single Malt. So the answer is Cooley. See?
Great banana skin, Ben. Great banana skin question.
Yeah, I was thinking Kilbeggan. I was like, Kilbeggan. Yeah.
I've never.
Okay. I'm sorry, guys, but there's 2 asshats in here. Or there's 1.5 asshats.
Okay. We need to pause then. With 2 asshats to go. I'm sitting on full marks so far. So let's go into let's see who's competing alongside us. Everyone is saying, Shayla, my daughter's name is Shaylin. Like her, your name is Gaelic for fairy or gift from the fairies.
Yes.
Did you know that?
Yeah. Yeah, that was my great grandmother's middle name. And that's she was Irish, so
Fantastic. Let's see what the scores are for everyone else. Everyone is good at translating names, but how's he scoring doing tonight? How are you getting on, Chris? Thomas Elmer is saying 6 out of 8. Don't know why I got it right, but yes. I'm looking for other 8 out of 8s. A 7 out of 8 for Stewie Baby and Sugar Kitty. Fantastic. Graham Fraser on 7. Hillswood on 7. Papa Q 7. Can't see any 8s. Oh, Dogs Have No Uncles. Colin, you star. Unite, along with Des on 8 as well. We're heading into the ass hats. Erwin is on a 4. He's needing an ass hat for a pass mark tonight, Erwin. Good luck, buddy. I can't see any more 8 out of 8s, but Des and Colin both joining. How are you guys scoring? Menno?
I have 6.
7 out of 8.
6, 7. Jim? You stay quiet. You don't need to say.
I have 4. And can I say that Jim is,
come on, buddy.
Jim is actually, well, it's taken from Seamus originally, and Seamus is, I'm shite at quizzes. That's basically what that translates as.
Seamus, the Gaelic version of the Hebrew James, which is a translation of is don't ask me any quiz questions.
Exactly. I'm out to hit people. That's what we do.
Jim, you need to claim an ass hat to get a pass mark, buddy. You need to do it. Sorry, Ben, take it away.
No, that's fine. So this is less of an ass hat because it was specifically discussed earlier.
Oh God.
If you add the age statements of blue spot, red spot, and green spot together, the answer is less than the number of Irish, including Northern Irish distilleries. So on the island of Ireland, listed in the Malt Whisky Yearbook, the same as the number of Irish distilleries listed, or more than the number of Irish distilleries listed.
In this one, you mean?
A beautiful ass hat.
It's just an R. If you give me an R over this, I'd get it. Trust me.
If somebody said define an ass hat question, this would be what would be in the dictionary next to ass hat. No doubt. Perfect.
Same number. Oh my God. God.
Yeah, totally guessing here.
Son of a.
So Roy actually said, well, obviously not the answer, but Roy gave a lot of information during the vPub on this question.
Sorry, fella.
No, it's all good. It's whether people pick the information up, right?
I'm ready when you are.
I'm not.
Okay, guys.
I think I'm ready.
Okay, let Jim. You volunteered yourself to go first there.
It's an educated guess. Because I think I know what the number is. So
yeah.
Okay.
I love you, Jim Ingram.
Shayla, you said B, right?
Yeah.
Menno?
I'm going with less. I think it's 22, the combined age. But
I'm saying 22.
Okay. And Roy?
Oh, just before I almost threw it away there.
You're going to see. Okay.
Damn.
So I can tell you that blue spot is 7 years old, yellow spot is 12 years old, red spot is 15 years old, for a total of 34. And across the island of Ireland, in the Malt Whisky Yearbook, there are 36 distilleries.
Oh.
So the answer is less. So it's A.
That's incredible.
That's a pass mark.
That's just a lucky guess.
So if you go back one slide there or two, do you see that is that on purpose, the green spot?
Yes, I put them in the wrong order. Correct.
Blue spot, red spot, and green spot.
That's what threw me, because that's only 22.
And then go to the next one.
Oh, have I not changed?
Yeah.
Oh, God. So I tell you what, everyone gets a point then.
No. Doesn't work
I
that
just
way.
wanted to be. just for the record, I got it right anyway. So let's celebrate everybody getting it right.
That's what threw me, because I was just
My
because Menno said at 22, and I thought, yeah, that's what I was getting. And then when everybody else, I was like, no, that's different.
Yeah.
My bad. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Jimmy Legg had my back there. He's saying, wait, the yellow spot isn't in the question, because green spot is even all the green spot variations are non-age statement right now.
Yeah, of course.
So that's so I was going on 22.
Mm-hmm.
Even with the 12-year-old yellow spot added into the mix, it doesn't really change the outcome. But I think the right thing to do is do what the vPub rules dictate, and that is if we screw up as the hosts a question, everybody gets a freebie, right? So there, Erwin's got his pass mark, Jim's got his pass mark.
And we all go around to Ben's house and give him a run on kicking.
Hey, listen, you've not even seen the proper ass hat yet.
Oh, goodness me.
Oh, my goodness, here we go. This is it. I'm on 9 out of 9, folks.
Wow,
I need this. I've never had a 10 out of 10.
Oh.
Okay.
We're
So
rooting for you,
question
Roy.
10. It's another ass hat, I'm afraid. Of course it is. It's question 10 in the vPub quiz. The number of bottles of Jameson's blended whiskey sold in 2020 is closest to...
Come on.
4 times the entire production capacity of the Islay distilleries in litres.
Oh, shit.
65 times the price in Great British pounds of the bottle of Macallan 1926 sold at auction in October 2020, or twice the population of Ukraine.
Bollocks.
Oh, God.
I've got a general idea how much bottles they sold, but oh man. 4
Jeez
times the
Louise.
production cap for this. So the production capacity of Islay is about.
I'm just going to go C to just go with Ukraine. Because I have no idea.
Right on, Steve A.
I am silenced because I realise that I have a 33% chance now of getting a 10 out of 10.
65 times the
First time
price
ever.
of the bottle of Macallan.
Okay, here goes.
Okay, well, as it's for a 10 out of 10, we'll let you go first, Roy.
C.
Twice the population of Ukraine. Okay, Menno?
I think they sold somewhere around 90 to 100 million bottles around the world, and
Oh dear. Oh dear.
so I think it's A as Islay is about 23 million, I think, capacity.
Okay.
So
Okay.
A,
Jim?
not sure.
You're such a nerd, Menno. I like you, but I mean, come on.
That's
I'm gonna go
awesome,
with
Menno. That is so
I
impressive.
could be way off. I could be way off, but no,
See?
yeah. Well,
Just I've got a pass mark. I don't care anymore. It's so
No. I've got an 8. I'm happy, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, and Shayla?
Yeah, C, I'm just, I
You're
figured
going for
maybe
Ukraine as well.
Yeah.
I think A is right. I like Menno's reasoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so where Ben the Whiskey Geek has an amazing palate, the total production in litres of Islay is 23 million. Damn it. The bottle of Macallan sold for 1.5 million, which would give a 65 times that is 97 million. And the population of Ukraine is about 41.5 million. So
they're all
83
close, really.
million. And the answer to the question of the number of bottles of Jameson's blended whiskey sold in 2020 is 92 million, which is 4 times the entire production of the Islay distillery.
Dang it, Menno, you're so
Woo!
good.
So Menno
Well done,
called
Menno.
that absolutely bang on.
Sugar Kitty is saying, "Congrats, Aquavite. This is how I feel every week." Oh, it's brutal.
Oh.
It's so
So
brutal.
dare I ask, sorry to rub it in, Roy. Any
Oh
tens?
my God.
Just 7 out of 10.
Sorry, Roy.
The 10
So
out of
sorry,
10
Roy.
is Colin. I'm looking for Colin's managed. He's saying a fluke on 10 out of 10. Well done to you, Colin.
Oh, wow.
Jimmy Legg got a 9. Fantastic, Jimmy. Peter Box on an 8. Andrew Pears on a 7.
Menno, how impressive.
Let's bring us.
Now, in fairness, I'm doing Irish whiskey month on my blog as well, so I've been obviously doing some studying to write my reviews, and I picked up a few things because otherwise I would have no idea about any of these questions.
Well, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, man. Well, what did you end up scoring?
A 9, like you.
Fantastic.
But
So-
my 10 out of 10 was out of the window on the first 3 questions. So
So we're matching our friend Jimmy Legg, Stewie Baby. Graham Fraser and Sugar Kitty got an 8. Well done, Ben, says Everwind. Thanks, Chris. He got a 7 out of 10 tonight. And Falsgraf managed a pass mark today. Oh, let's see. Who else were we looking for? It was Des. Did Des slip up? Ouch! Oh no, Des slipped up as well. So we have only one 10 out of 10 tonight that we know of, and that is Des.
Wow.
So let's raise a wee glass because that was a slippery quiz at the end. Well done, Des, everybody. Well done, everyone. Cheers. Ben, well done to you. You got the spirit of the quiz nailed. Absolutely nailed. Fantastic. On theme and everything. Cheers.
Yeah. Great
Thanks.
quiz.
It's good
Great
fun.
quiz.
Really, I was nervous. I thought that this is the night I'm going to embarrass myself because I'm out of my comfort zone a wee bit. But I think he kept it palatable for the most part. Great fun it was too. Jim, you got your pass mark?
As an Irishman, I win anyway. That's basically what it is.
Absolutely, just for turning up.
Yeah, there's no argument
Turning
there.
up and being here. I would agree with that. Two Slaw is saying thanks, Roy, and the guests. Erwin is saying cheers, Ben. Two Ask That Questions was twice the fun, says Jaime. Tom Elmer is saying nice one. What a roller coaster quiz, says Rob Calder. Fantastic stuff. Listen, I've had a lot of fun tonight. I hope it's been good. And Seb has just signed up to join the Aquavite Barflies. Seb, welcome, my friend. Thank you so much. Listen, off-piste tonight. Irish whiskey is not the typical place for us to go. But if it's this much fun, I think we should visit Irish whiskey a wee bit more often. What do you think about that? I'm going to raise a wee glass to you guys. It's just amazing. I say this every time that I reach out and the guests just say, aye, okay, we'll come along. Shayla and Menno, I said, somebody else is hosting the quiz tonight. Are you up for it? Menno, I'll let you introduce what this thing is. I think we need to raise a wee glass and thank our quizmaster tonight.
Absolutely.
Ben, Menno's got something for you here.
Oh.
I'll let Menno read it out in his accent. Go on.
Yeah, it's a diploma from the esteemed University of Dufftown, and it declares that
Novak joke. I hope he's
and that declares that the title of head bearer has been granted to Ben with Molly, magno cum asino, which translates with a great ass, by the jury, the faculty of and the dean, the Professor Dr. Roy Duff, the chair of Banana Skins, Professor Dr. Shayla Fromm, and the lecturer in impossible capacities, Professor Dr. Yours truly. Congratulations, Ben.
Wow. I feel like I should have a hat that I should throw in the air right now.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome,
There you go,
guys.
a diploma from the University of Dofton. Hat bearer.
Oh.
Ben, surname with Molly. Fantastic. Middle name then, Ben must be Whiskey, right? Maybe like saying it would have been a $10 dram if you were just a little spice. Bought me a $9. It would have been a $10 dram if you were just a little smarter, Roy. Who doesn't know the distillery capacity of Isla? I didn't know
Jimmy.
how many bottles of Jameson is sold. Oh, you're terrific, buddy. You're absolutely terrific. Fantastic, guys. I had a brilliant listen. We're way over the 2. We're not way over. We're probably going to end up about 15 minutes over the 2 hours, but I think it's worth it. It's been an absolute pleasure and a blast. I've loved every whiskey that I've sipped tonight. I've actually gone back to the Silkie, the blend, and it's holding up.
Yeah.
That's crazy given what I've been sipping tonight. So listen, even if it's just to reassure yourself that your rhythm, your gig, your jam, whatever you want to call it, your vibe is Scotch, explore, go outside, because everything's getting more expensive. And the only chance we've got of keeping the price in reach is to be as promiscuous as possible. Seriously. Graham Fraser is saying, thanks, Guy. Tom Elmer is saying, here, Roy. Michael Henry is saying, definitely up for seeing more Irish. So Michael Henry, of course, a countryman of Jim and Ben. In fact, a school friend of Ben as well. Good to see you, and Michael. I'm glad you've been hanging out tonight. Listen, buddy, there's a lock-in on Sunday night. I'm hoping you can involve yourself because I think I might trouble Doc with the lock-in. You let me know if that's going to fly or not. Slancheva from, it's jumped, Sugar Kitty. Thank you very much, Sugar Kitty. Petehead is saying, and with that, I call it a day. Thanks for another fun evening, everyone. Slancheva, thank you very much, Frank. Board Dynamics is saying, great quiz. Thank you, Aquavite. Board Dynamics, that's a new name. It's so good to have you enjoying it as well. Good to welcome you here. Hellsworth is saying, great vPub as usual. Fab fun quiz. Great guests, multi-mission, Whiskey Central, Whiskey Novice. Much love to all. Ben Whiskey with Molly. That's from Hellswood. Thank you very much. Paul S. Whiskey Stream. Wow. Fantastic. Good to see you. And Paul looks like a new name as well. Hope you enjoyed yourself. Des is saying, great evening, all Slancher. And Falsgraph is saying, up to now, Scotch is the most constant, but it has increasing competition. I would say that's a very good way to round out tonight. Let's raise a wee glass to all the beautiful whiskey folk and dedicated barflies. I hope they had much fun. As much fun. I've clearly had fun because I've got no whiskey left. My goodness. Cheers, guys. Ben, thank you, you superstar. Menno, thank you for always being around. Shayla, I love that you always bring a ray of sunshine to the vPubs. And Jim, Whiskey Novice, you always bring some Irish charm and class, my friend. Thank you all for participating with me tonight. Cheers. Please hang out backstage if you can, and I can raise a wee glass with you afterwards after the credits roll. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Shayla. Thank you, Menno in Belgium. And Ben, you can come back again, buddy. Thank you, my friend. Till next time. Absolutely superb. What a great fun night tonight. It pays to step out of your comfort zone, your groove from time to time. That's what I think, at least. I've loved exploring American whiskey. I've loved exploring Irish whiskey, world whiskies, Japanese whiskey. I've loved exploring English whiskey. Even if it just reminds us how unique Scotch is, or bourbon, whatever our jam normally is, it's wonderful just to know what else is out there, especially as prices become more and more acute. Fernando saying, great night, very funny and instructive too. Thank you very much, Aguavite. Glad to join in the vPub every Thursday. It's great to have you, Fernando. It's great to have you here. Lawrence Bemer is here as well. Good to see you, Lawrence. Jimmy Leggy saying, I hope someone unlocks the bathroom door so Ben can leave. Fantastic. Wonderful stuff. I'm going to raise this glass of, what have we got left here? Oh, we've got a wee bit left of the Dingle. There is a funk on here. It's fruity, super ripe. Guava or something, I don't know. Something super ripe is wonderful. I'll raise this glass to you all and say happy St. Patrick's Day. I hope you've had a fun hanging out with us tonight. It's wonderful for me to have welcomed you here. You're all very dearly loved, and I look forward to hanging out with you again next week. Sláinte, folks. Good night.